are you to doubt El Dandy?
This is Robbie Eagles.
This is the loosest in Australian wrestling, Adam Brooks.
Hi, this is Mimic. This is 5 times the world's heavyweight champion, the Scrap Daddy himself, Scrap Iron Adam Pierce.
This is Brian Alvarez, and you are listening to Wrestle Radio Australia.
Welcome to the show, folks. My name is Josh Armour, and thanks very much for downloading Wrestle Radio Australia. This is our first episode.
Oh, yeah! G'day, this is Big Brody Marshall.
This is Brian Alvarez.
This is Dean Brady of the Millennials.
This is Jurassic Punk Sid Parker.
How many of you guys have heard the term kayfabe?
Hello, doggers. This is Jay Hunter from OSW Review.
This is Matt Grim Basso.
This is the loosest in Australian wrestling, Adam Brooks.
This is Scrap Iron Adam Pierce, and you are locked in
to Wrestle Radio Australia.
I am the game, I'm champion, I'm Triple H. Undertaker, I'm your maker, bury the brother like Kane. Ooh, 1-3, hit the tombstone, hit the choke slam on face. Ooh, yeah, like a macho heel, turn like country muscle. If you sour like tomatoes, I'ma keep a couple models. Ooh, and you may call me HBK. When I'm tuning up the band, you best be getting in my way. Ooh, yeah, I'm degenerate, I love it, yes, I love it. If you wait down with that, then I got two is what you suck it. Too sweet, put your fangs up. Too sweet, hold another cup. Let's be busy 23, got me feeling way too sweet.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. But a square peg in a round hole just never seems to fit. And you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Hello and welcome to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia show where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. I'm back! I'm Lachlan Albert, your host, and it is good to be back on the show. I am joined, as always, by next week's King of FOMO, Todd Eastman. Todd, how you doing, mate?
Bruised, but I'm okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not a heavyweight champion, but, you know, that is how it is. And I'm
half a second away.
That's right. It was so close. I'm also joined by a man who will be joining me in Perth for an extravagant weekend of wrestling next weekend, Jeff Setti. Jeff, how you doing, brother?
I'm okay. Thank you. We didn't have a show last week. And part of the reason for that, and if you're watching on Twitch or listening in, just give me a second. I hope to get through this without crying. A dear friend of mine, Adam Ratmock, passed in November, and I found out last week. I'm very, very cut up about this. He was someone, when my mum was dying, we were going to gigs together, and he took me off to Lord Howe Island for 10 days, and he was just a really, really great mate, and I'll miss him. So tonight, this is for you, Adam, and one day we'll be back watching Pearl Jam live together again.
Excellent. And look, it's when stuff like this happens, it's tough mental health wise. I'll say that I also had some mental health stuff going on last week, which has contributed to our little bit of a spotty release schedule here. But as always, Wrestle Radio Australia is big when it comes to mental health. So please, if you are having a hard time, reach out to those places like Beyond Blue, Gotcha for Life. You know, talk to someone, reach out, because they really are there to help you. It's something that affects a lot of people, and we've always been behind it here. So as usual, you know, if you want to support those places too, you can grab our merch. So cheap plug here. If you head on over to Redbubble and search for the Wrestle Radio Australia stuff, we make sure that all of those proceeds go to charities like Beyond Blue and Gotcha for Life because of how important it is. So definitely letting that one loose at the top. But hey, and Tim Wilkes has hit it. Mental health is always the priority. Wrestling can wait. That's exactly right. And one of the things that...
Also, sorry to interrupt you, Lachlan. We will get back to the EPW show in a week or two. It just the time frame got crunched a little bit, so we will get back to that very, very soon. So hang in there, EPW fans.
One of the things I wanted to mention is actually about mental health and about the kind of, unity that we do have access to in wrestling, because I took my mum to a show for the first time last Saturday night, and she had an absolute blast. She was blown away by it. And she said what a lot of people say after they go to the wrestling is, she said, I get it now. I get why people are into it. And she was really blown away by, the way it combines theater and athleticism. But one of the things she said was, it's really cool that all of these guys have something they can do where they're surrounded by people who care about the same thing. There's no way to be into local wrestling by yourself. You have to be surrounded by like-minded people. So that's something that I want to shout out, is that in wrestling, you cannot be the only person at an Aussie wrestling show. Every one of those performers is someone who cares about wrestling. Everyone in the crowd is someone who cares about wrestling. We do have a great community of people here around Australian wrestling. And even when there are differences of opinion, it's important to remember that's an awesome community to have around you when it comes to mental health stuff and all that sort of stuff. So reach out to someone. And if you're at a show, please introduce yourself. If you want to come say hi to us, please do. We love meeting you. We love talking to you. It's wonderful.
Andy said, I went to a DMDU show where I felt like I was the only one there last
year. Probably because you were.
It's probably because you were. Wilbur Smith,
also,
thank you. Best cast in Oz. Don't tell Welchie. Yeah, and further to what you're saying, Lachlan, we are seeing a lot of people buying WrestleBrania tickets who are just one person. We love seeing that. I know Tim Wilkes is coming along just by himself. You're going to catch up with Lachlan and his wonderful girlfriend at the partner. Sorry, Lachlan. His wonderful partner at that point. I'm sure you guys are going to sit together and have a blast. It's general seating. Come along, sit down, meet somebody. If you missed the announcement this week, we're giving away 5 copies of WWE 2K24. Your choice.
5 copies.
Your choice. It can be PlayStation, Xbox, or PC. It's up to you. We can accommodate that. So we're very excited about that. So grab your tickets if you want one of those.
Also, thanks for bringing your mum out to see me get my ass kicked.
That was the only way I could convince her, Todd.
You know that loud guy that's on my show? He's getting his ass kicked tonight.
She kept referring to you as the old guy who was in that match. It was great.
Right. If I could dye the beard, I fucking would,
Toddy.
I'm stuck with this.
Toddy, do you need help?
No, I'm fine. I'm just fucking old, apparently.
I want to talk more about PWL and how old you are in a bit. But first, I want to mention that if you are coming to Perth and you want another chance, thanks, Todd, to get down and dirty, have a good chat to us, introduce yourself, well, why don't you come along to the Dutch Trading Company on the Sunday, the day after Elimination Chamber, that's February 25th, where we're going to have WrestleBrania presents the Wrestle Radio Australia X On the Turnbuckle unofficial Elimination Chamber live post show. That's going to be featuring both Jeff and I, as well as the excellent hosts from On the Turnbuckle, whose names I definitely know, Lyle and Welchie. So you can come along to that one.
It's going to be a lot of fun. There's limited seating. So if you want to get a ticket, you want to get a ticket soon. I know the venue really well. The guys are lovely. You're going to get cheap beer. You're going to get some help from the Brucha guys. The TMDK beer will be around on the Sunday. How good is that? We're trying to get some special guests, but we're not going to announce them.
I want to jump in, Jeff, because you told me there was going to be beverage support, and I would find out later. And then I find out that we've got the guest tap from Young Punks. I found out from their post that's here are all the places we're going to be. And I'm so psyched. I drink beer occasionally, and this TMDK Young Punks rice lager is so up my alley. I'm so excited.
Just Lachlan, I don't drink, so it doesn't, I didn't even know about it. My producer fixed it up. My producer in Perth, Big Dave, fixed it up. So thanks, Dave.
All right, I'm going to send my love to Dave because I'm psyched.
I'll let him know. I'll be seeing him on Saturday because I'm going to Perth tomorrow to do some work on the show and finalise some meetings. I should announce our referee. Should I announce the referee now or later in the show?
Well, if you announce it now, you can talk about it again later.
Yeah, because I'm going to talk about everything again later. We've got a special guest referee, probably Australia's finest wrestler at the moment, Robbie Eagles of the Eagles family, who are all excellent wrestlers, including Madison. But Robbie is exceptional, and Robbie is going to be my special guest referee at WrestleBrania. No one special. How fucking cool is that? He's really looking forward to it. We've been messaging back and forth a bit. So, come along. What more can I say?
Cool. What an absolute
It was also his birthday this week, so happy birthday, Robbie.
Yeah, happy birthday, Rob.
Happy birthday, Mr. Eagles. Yeah.
He was jet-setting a bit, so it was interesting conversation.
So if you're in Perth, jump onto OzTix where you can find tickets for WrestleBrania X EPW. That's at Linnet's Lounge on Saturday, the 24th of February at 2:30 in the afternoon. So you'll have plenty of time to get to Elimination Chamber. But do jump on those tickets because otherwise you'll miss out.
And not just if you're in Perth, but if you're going to Elimination Chamber as well. You don't have to just be in Perth.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because I feel like we'll all head over together a bit and make sure that you get that because you'll be in the draw for one of those 5 copies of WWE 2K24, which is such a brilliant prize. And then the day after, make sure that right now, so you don't miss out on a ticket, you go to tinyurl.com/WRAXOTT so that you can get one of those $15 on the turnbuckle Wrestle Radio Australia unofficial post-show tickets because at $15 they are not going to last long. How's that for plugs at the top of the show? We've got so much to talk about, and we've spent that much time talking about shows we're doing.
I think that's my fault.
All right. Well, look, let's get cracking in. Jeff, there was 2 shows that you went to over the weekend. We unfortunately have to wait for the excellent broadcast that's going to happen on Triller Plus. So if you've got Triller Plus, formerly Fight Plus, you'll be able to watch the MCW Anniversary shows.
You can watch it now.
You can watch it now? Brilliant. I just haven't yet. I've been busy with work. So I will be watching those. See, this is how behind I am at the moment. But Jeff, you were there live and in person, so you can tell us how you feel about some of these. You happy for us to start talking about what was going on? Or do you want to give us a quick overview of how it was to be there for the anniversary weekend?
Being there was tremendous. I will say, like MCW's crowd is white hot. I don't know if that transferred on the broadcast, but that crowd was up for everything. It was just incredible. It was just loud. It was fun. I even turned around, I think, to Rowan at some point and said, mate, that is one hell of a great crowd you've got here. And it was fantastic to see. They just ate everything up, even at 3 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon. Perfect.
I was going to say, how different was the crowd from night 1 to day 2?
Day 2 was a lot more family-based, whereas night 1 was a little bit more sort of, sort of the adult stuff. But just wonderful. Both nights were great shows. So, they stacked up really nicely.
Look,
one thing I will give a shout out to is the MCW production, because their turnaround for having it up on, I think it was like Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday. Was it Monday, Tuesday with the 2 nights? It was
Monday, Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, to turn it around from like Saturday, Sunday to be up on Monday, Tuesday was a great effort. So that was really good because I could sit down and watch the shows early in the week.
See, that's why I didn't even look. I assumed that I would find out when they went up, but I wasn't looking on Monday and Tuesday because that's so quick. By the way, if you were at Anniversary Weekend or you just want to talk to us like 7X is doing in the Twitch chat right now, we can see what you're saying. That's at twitch.tv/WrestleRadio Australia. So you can come and be part of the conversation. Andy PWDU says MCW has the crowd you can dream of. They got families, they got young women who are potentially there for Delta, they got diehards who are 50% selling shows before anything is announced. It's such an incredible crowd that they've got coming to every show. Night one kicked off with something pretty huge, the return of Mitch Waterman to defeat Jarvis. Good to see Mitchie back in the ring.
Yeah, he looks good. This was a fun match, really crisp. I mean, Jarvis is Jarvis. He's, whatever it is, Jarvis has it in spades.
Yeah, it looks like
interesting.
It looks like the time away has done Mitch really well.
Yeah, he was a lot crisper than I'd seen him previously. And there's an interesting thing about Jarvis is the crowd were about to turn him face. He was this close to getting cheered. And then something happened the next night, which we'll talk about when we get to the next night.
Yes. But, I thought...
Yes, so fun.
Okay,
sorry,
I thought Mitch was really good.
You go, Todd. You go.
Because, well, you haven't seen it, so that's why I was... The only thing he needs to change up is that his fire-up thing seems to be the same every time.
Yes,
very baby. Very baby-ish. He just needs to try. Aside from that, like, he looked really good. He looked, like I said before, he looked energized to be back, which is always a good thing to see. It's just that little. It's the thing we've been saying is like he's slowly getting it, but it's still a good work in progress, I think.
Yeah, I think he's almost there. He's got there within reach, whereas I felt when he was champion, there was so far above him it wasn't funny.
It was a bigger gap. Yeah.
It was a bigger gap, but it was good to see him, and he's really he's looking good, and it was a pleasure to watch him.
Yeah, and on the other side of the coin when it comes to returns, Rocky Monero returning to the ring, managing to defeat Robbie Thorpe in their encounter. Robbie Thorpe obviously been building up and wanting this match for a couple of shows now, and Rocky managing to get the better of him with the Veterans Experience.
Is that what the move was called? Okay.
Yes.
The Veterans Experience. Look, I like this. I actually wanted Robbie to win. I would have been more interested had Robbie won than the other way around, and it would have been a good excuse for what happens later in the night. But I still really like this. I like the match a lot.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked that Robbie didn't win, to be honest with you. But I like the way they did it because, like, Rocky he's still being the good guy, but he's still the veteran. He'll take the shortcut if he can see it. And just uses that little, like, I've been around for years of experience to get the win, which I enjoyed. I always enjoy a good, well thought out finish.
I enjoyed the match though. I thought the match was great.
Yes.
Following that, this is the one I'm most looking forward to because I think this meeting of styles is so interesting. Tommy Knight managing to get the victory over Adam Brooks.
I love this. I thought this was terrific. It was really, really smart. Lachlan, do you mind a small spoiler?
Go for it.
The fact that
the shit out of this show, I had to break it to you. It's a review.
Yeah, we're reviewing it. Spoil everything. That's the point.
The fact that
watching it either way, it doesn't matter.
That Adam Brooks had issues knocking Tommy off his feet was excellent. Tommy would stagger, Tommy would reel, but he wasn't ever really knocked flat until very late in the match. I liked the ending. I thought the ending was so smart and so much fun. Tommy's a star. I mean, we had him as our Australian Wrestler of the Year last year. And I think that, we're being proven right. Every time I see Tommy wrestle, I get more and more impressed. And I thought this was a terrific match. And Tommy, Tommy's something special.
He's
really
bloody phenomenal. He is.
Like I like the fact that they even had Brooksy come off the top rope or the second rope with a drop kick, and it just drop kicked Tommy back into the corner.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to take the bump, but he could still sell that it was a big move that hit him. So it was just, it was a really, really thought out match, really well planned. And sort of like the finish of this sort of fed into what happened further on the weekend for Tommy. The whole sort of weekend was really well planned when you think of it, when you look back at it. But in sort of like at that time when it happened, I was just like, wow, they had Brooksy go over in that last thing in the main event, and now he's losing in his first. Wow, okay, I didn't see that coming. But then you realize why, and later on,
the show was about 3 acts, so three people and teams. One of them was Tommy Knight. The weekend was about Tommy Knight in a big way. The other one we're mentioning not next match, but the match after. And the third one we've already mentioned, and that's Jarvis. So, it was really, really smart, and I really enjoyed it and thought that it was. I'm a big fan of Tommy's anyway. Tommy's great.
Yeah, I don't think we're at risk of underrepresenting our love for Tommy Knight on this podcast. I think he's bloody excellent, and there's no surprise that there's a lot of love for Brooksy on this podcast. Yeah, this is. I'm very much looking forward to seeing this because, you see those guys and you expect it to be expertly planned and expertly executed, and it sounds like it was. Following that, it was a number 1 contenders match for Delta's Intercommonwealth Championship between Emin Usman and Nick Armstrong. This came after
No, it was just
I'm sorry. Leg Strong. Thank you.
Oh, it was Nick Legstrong, I'm sorry. So this comes after Nick Legstrong won the Rumble on the previous show while referees weren't paying attention to his elimination when Emin Usman was technically the last person to have been in the ring without being eliminated. Thank you, Todd, for changing that on the rundown to say Nick Legstrong. I appreciate it. This one was declared a draw by special guest referee Delta, meaning that the Night 2 match would be a triple threat for that Intercommonwealth title. Very clever way of turning this.
No, but see, I don't think that was the case. I think this was always a trip because I'm pretty damn sure they advertised it as being a triple threat the next night.
They did.
So it was just a match between the two of them with Delta as the. It was just the two of them with the match. This was the only match for me where like, inside the ring was good. Like the action was good. Didn't really get the, you know what I mean? Because it was like, because like Delta just beat them both up and then sort of did the double pin, which was a lot like she basically was going to do that the next night. If that makes sense. It's I know what they were doing. They were just cashing in on having Delta in 2 matches through the weekend without actually having to have her work. But I think that there was probably some way they could have got around that. They could have maybe done like a tag team with like Legstrong and Asman against Delta and somebody. And then like just have that feed into the next night sort of thing. That was the only thing like when I look at it, I'm like, they could have done.
I like this obviously more than yourself, Todd. I can understand your complaint though. I liked it just because each time Delta walks into that room, she gets louder and louder pops. And the great thing about this match is you didn't really notice she was there until the end played out. She played it straight down the middle like a typical referee until the end played out. And to be able to turn that charisma on and off is a fascinating thing to watch. And it's also a really, really fascinating thing to experiment with for any federation in Australia while she's here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. After this, MCW tag team titles on the line with the Pareja managing to defend the belts against the Natural Classics. I am glad the result went this way. I think the Pareja are built to be holding these titles right now.
Yeah, I'm glad that there was no way they were going to continue to be able to keep them as heels.
No.
It was a very good match. It was really quite nice. I think, I think we're heading for some interesting times.
Yeah, it's very much like, I think that they work so well because the Prayer has so much personality. It fills that chasm that the Natural don't. And so all you've got is like, it sort of evens it out. So then all you've got is like two teams that really, really can work in that ring. When the bell rings, two amazing teams. And just having the end of them, having not really go full on baby face, like we're going to hug, we're going to do all this thing, but sort of like begrudgingly shake hands because like the Naturals admit that these guys are the better team and what can we do? They're just fucking better than us. And the Parade didn't really cheat to win either.
No,
which is probably the first time that they've done that in a while, which is good to see. When you're going to do a change like that, it's a good thing to see, and pretty much kept the two of those the Naturals baby faces as well. So it was a really, really good match.
Yes, and the fact that it ended with a clean win for the Pereira is useful. Because following this was an MCW World Heavyweight title match between Slex and Buddy Matthews. Slex finally managing to come out on top of this long-running one-on-one confrontation. It's been a long time in the making, but we have a new champion in Slex because Adam Brooks and Rocky Monero made their way out to help him against Buddy Matthews and form Icons. Icon $. ICON dollars. However we're saying it. This is the new stable we've got now. Slex, Adam Brooks, and Rocky Monero. Finishing with a big challenge where Buddy was joined by the Pereira, Slex, Adam Brooks, and Rocky Monero on the other side with a challenge for a winner-takes-all match the following night for all of the titles. What did we think of this one, gentlemen?
You go first, Jeff, because I have a spiel.
I know you have a spiel. Look, I liked it. It's a sports entertainment match and not a wrestling match, which is a shame. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, I think they had to make it a sports entertainment match. From my perspective, there was a little bit too much gaga. It was a little bit too much. Let's absolutely crap on Buddy, which, that's fine. But it got a bit overboard and it got a bit much. I actually telegraphed Rocky. I said, Rocky Monero is going to run out and not count three. It's just one of those things you pick up from the flow of the match. But saying that, the crowd were white hot. The crowd were into it. And, it's that who am I to judge? And boy, if the idea was to get those three guys heat, it worked. It really worked. They got a lot of heat. And it continued onto the next night quite well. So, I also just want to shout out Lindsay Howarth's ring announcing for this match was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. He was spot on. Really, really did a great job. And I actually spoke to him and said, I thought that was the best ring announcing I've heard you do. And he really appreciated that. So, Lindsay, I don't know if you listened to this or not, but again, mate, really good job.
I'll jump in with Andy PWDU's comment here. He says, I understand that I'm in a minority here. The crowd was white hot for the finish and for the story, but this really over-the-top sports entertainment product isn't for me. I just want simple stories and great matches. I was so ready to go nuts for Slex. I didn't need 3 heel turns, 2 babyface turns, and 3 ref bumps. Todd, do you want to take it away?
Yeah. Basically along the same lines as Andy, and thanks for ruining that for me, Lachlan. What at the start of the match I found was way too slow. They really did milk out that injury spot from both guys just too long, in my opinion. Like there was a point there where I started looking at my phone because I'm like, oh, I'm going to hear the commentators start up again when this match gets started. And then to have that was the way that Slex turns, of course, by attacking Buddy when like they pretty much sort of called the match off, but they didn't really call the match off. The bell never rang. So that sort of thing. Like I got that sort of thing. But what I don't get is why you've been building Slex over this year is like sort of Super Cena. And you didn't give the crowd at least 1 or 2 months where he was their champion. If that makes sense to you. You didn't really give him a chance to embrace the guy, like give him that thing, and then you take him away afterwards instead of like taking it away before it even happens. Like I completely understand why they've done it, and like I've talked to the bookers about it because we talked about it before we recorded this, and I've already said all of this sort of stuff to them. but that's I understand why they've done it. I just think that you could have given the crowd a little bit of the yay with Slex as our champion, and then have Slex go, I only did it to get this belt. Now I'm going to surround myself with these people to help me keep it, sort of deal. Yeah, as soon as Brooksy came out, you knew what was going to happen. The Rocky thing, of course, that's like you caught that as well, Jeff. Like Rocky's a more natural heel, so this fits well for him. He's a natural heel when it comes to it. When the match got going, the match was fine, but there was like as you said, Jeff, there were times there where they threw the bus at him and then they backed the bus up over him and he was still kicking out. And it was just like, oh, that's yeah.
I think you've got to do that with someone of his stature, though, right?
Yeah, it's fine, but it seemed like the front half, and I agree with you regarding the injuries, Todd. It seemed like the front half was a little bit like plotty, and then the back half they almost rushed through false finishes and things like that really, really quickly. And I think that pacing issue kind of got me a little bit. I mean, despite it being sports entertainment with a capital Z, I really enjoyed it. I really had fun because the crowd was so loud and so into it. And it's one of those things I always think in a wrestling show and also a wrestling panel comedy show, the crowd adds about 80%. Now, Lachlan, you were with us in Canberra. We didn't have a huge crowd, but everyone had fun. It's that 80% that the crowd brings. So I think that this was, this match really relied on that crowd, and as such, they pulled it off. Having spoken to somebody the night following, one of the people behind it, they said we had a lot of balls in the air, and they were really happy that they pulled it off. And mechanically, the turns and everything to do with the match was just really well done. But it is a bit too sports entertainment gaga for me.
Look, I think I agree as far as how much they did in one shot. But to me, Rocky Monero is an obvious heel. I know I said the catchphrase, Jeff. You're welcome. Rocky is an obvious heel, right? Brooksy is so good in the heel persona that it just feels right to have him there. And I've always said, Slex has a heel gimmick. He calls himself the business, and he comes out in his sunglasses and suit jacket and then makes a big deal about taking off his sunglasses. That's a heel.
He's capitalism.
His whole gimmick is that he's rich and he wears sunglasses and a sparkly jacket. That's a heel. So, it makes a lot of sense to me that this exists as a heel stable. And I like the combination of Buddy and the Pariah. It's interesting to have Buddy, who in his House of Black gimmick is quite quiet and brooding, to be surrounded by, and I use the word all the time, the pit bulls, the big bark with the however much bite they can back it up with. That's the Pariah. I think is a really fun and interesting combination.
Yeah, I also like the fact that he didn't just embrace them.
Yeah,
he sort of pushed them off I don't need you guys. I don't want your help. I don't need. I'll fight these guys on my own.
Yeah,
and because of the Pariah not liking Rocky, no, we're in this with you guys, and that's why they'd set up the next night. It was going to be a 3-on-3. Go on.
I do like that little bit of consistency. Like the whole Rocky thing is been consistent storytelling for about the past year. And I think that's really, really nice to see. I agree with Tim Wilkes. He says here, being the anniversary, you almost need to go over the top a little. And you do. Look, it was none of this is, I hated it. I didn't want to see anymore.
Yeah,
No. These are just things that I personally feel they can improve on. But just a great show. Like 2 great shows otherwise.
Yeah, well, let's talk about night 2. I think we might get through this a little more quickly. First off, an 8-man scramble elimination match. This one had Blake Malik, Jake Taylor, Jarvis, Ryan Rapid, Shen, Stevie Philippe, Tome Philippe, but ultimately coming out on top was Tommy Knight, earning himself a shot at the MCW World Heavyweight title. There's a lot of big names in there, but clearly Tommy Knight is a standout for this whole weekend.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. The interactions between Tommy and Jake Taylor were just tremendous. 2 big, meaty boys. It's going to be interesting to see where they go, considering that Tommy's most recent tag team partner in MCW and tag team champions together currently holds the world title. And Tommy's definitely going to ask for a world title shot, having won this scramble, because one thing that was missing is it's an 8-man scramble elimination match for the title of your choice. So I don't think Tommy's going to go after Delta. No. They're setting up Tommy versus Slex, which will be tremendous as well. We saw it in Canberra, but the roles will be slightly reversed. So I think that'll be most interesting. Really, really enjoyed this. A lot of fun, fast moving. I would have liked just a couple of minutes more, but everything's so quick at MCW. They do things timed perfectly. But yeah, just another minute or 2 for this would have been great.
Yeah, it did feel like they flew through it. But I mean, when you got 8 guys and you got to sort of like eliminate 7 of them, I suppose you sort of have to. You can't have it like go 30 minutes for an opening.
But geez. I'm going to say this, and he's. I hope he's not gone, because there's something that happened after the next match that indicates he might be. But geez, Ryan Rapid's got a bright future. He's got a really great future, and he's something. There's something special about Rapid, and I hope that they keep him around. But the next match kind of led into something with Ryan and Blake Malik.
Well, he's one of those guys that when I did a special a little while ago, like people to watch for in 2024. He's one of those guys that I think could step out of that group.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up with the Intercommonwealth Championship by later this year, early next.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on from there, now this is a shame because, like I said, I haven't seen this show yet. I'm interested to know how these 2 guys work together. I would like to see the 2 of them in a match. This is Caveman Ugg and Mick Moretti.
I can actually smell the smark on you just then.
Hang on. Have they wrestled before, Lachlan, or is this a first?
I've got a feeling they might have. Caveman Ugg defeating Mick Moretti in this one. In a match that, you see these 2 on a card, and it's like, whoa, new matchup alert. Wow.
Okay. It's not a new match, but is it a good match?
Yeah. It's always a good match.
Then shut up. Buy your ticket, sit down and shut up and enjoy it.
Look, it was, I can tell you, it was a really fun match. It was a really fun match because these 2 can play either face or heel and wrestle really well together. It was nice to see Moretti because he hasn't had the greatest run of late in MCW. He's lost a little bit of crowd.
He Fight Clubbed himself.
Interest. Like the crowd has lost a bit of interest in him because of the Fight Clubbing himself thing and the clown thing and like carrying on with the clowns. So I think that to have this match and kind of remind people of how good he is in ring and how much chemistry he has. It was really nice to see. I hope this isn't the end of Moretti. Like the Clowns broke up after the match. Or no, Moretti beat the shit out of them after the match.
Yeah, see, I think everybody's reading way too much into this. I just think that's him teaching them. I just think that's him beating the shit out of him. He beat the shit out of himself to get into the club. Why wouldn't he beat the shit out of his other guys to try and bloody teach them? This is like you've got to get a harder edge to you.
I hope not.
Because I can't see him just doing it and then dumping it like that. I just can't see that happening. I honestly think that was just him toughening up his boys and teaching them a lesson.
You could be right. But either way, Moretti beat up the Clowns afterwards. I saw Rapid actually the break. I saw Rapid walking out the front of the Thornbury Theatre just by himself in clown makeup. And I said, "Hey, that was a nice match, Rapid." And he went, "Oh, thanks, Jeff," and just walked on. But I don't know. I mean, maybe this is something that's a little bit more interesting if you're right, Todd. Or if not, I hope that MCW, keep both Blake Malik and Rapid because they're both really quite good workers and deserve a spot.
Yeah, I just think they've invested way too much time into them to just blow it off like that. That's what I'm thinking is just him trying to toughen these guys up. And let's face it, you've got Pereira now who are babyface. Oh, no, they're not babyface champions. There's a heel champ. Don't worry about me. Go on.
Now, can you boys remind me, was there a fourth clown at some point that I was complaining about?
Yeah, just a one-nighter, but it was never actually...
Yeah, there was a clown that ran out, did stuff, and then disappeared and hasn't been seen since.
Okay, so there's still a rogue clown. That's good to know.
That's actually the name of the next MCW show. MCW : Rogue Clown.
I was going to say, speaking of rogue clowns, but I'm not going to say that because I might get the shit beaten out of me. Edward Dusk.
Tim Wilkes has just said it was me. Yeah, right, Tim. You don't know the condition I'm in when I go to MCW shows. Anyway, let's keep going.
Or outside the house, I mean.
A pre-recorded promo from Edward Dusk had him declaring he's going after the MCW World title. We've been shouting that from the rooftops for a little while.
Yeah, but this causes a little bit of confusion because Lex is a heel. Dusk is a heel. I mean, he's Dusk. So he's kind of his own entity. But how are they kind of managing that? That's going to be interesting to see. I want to see how it plays out. I'm not panning it, but I would have rather...
Presumably, Tommy Knight is a face that's in the mix, right?
Yeah.
Although Tommy cheated to beat Adam the night before.
He didn't cheat completely. He kind of
there you go.
He toyed with the rules. He let, but I mean that also puts Adam over because to beat someone of his stature, you need to be able to manipulate the rules to your advantage. There you go. Yeah. You're a heel manager. You surely like that. We didn't cheat. We manipulated the rules to our advantage.
It's not cheating unless you get caught.
Yeah, thanks.
As Eddie Guerrero and Stone Cold Steve Austin taught us, only heels cheat. You can't be a good guy and also cheat. No Holds Barred match was up next. And that was Erica Reed finally defeating Aisha after the two could not just stop themselves from brawling over the past few months. Erica coming out on top in this one once there were no real rules to follow.
I love this. I love the fact that Erica didn't wait for the intros.
Yeah.
She just jumped Aisha. Because, if you really hate someone and you want a chance to get to them, that's what you're going to do. You're not going to wait for your little entrance and you're not going to walk around the ring and strut and pose and that, especially if you're the babyface that wants to get to that heel. You're just going to come straight out and start beating the hell out of them. And that's exactly what Erica did.
Whoever put this match together with the two participants did a great job. Just a great job. Look, the table spot was loud. Whoever gimmicked the table did a great job as well. They both come out of this match looking like $1 million. I think this is great storytelling. It'll be really interesting to see where both Aisha and Erica go from here, because I don't think Aisha lost anything by losing the feud. And I
took a hell of a table bump. That was a hell of a table bump.
That was one hell of a bump. And I like the little interactions between Edwin and Aisha as well. There was this little, I think they're developing a little side storyline where Edwin's got a crush on Aisha, which will be really funny. Look, it was sweet. It was a great match. Loved it.
Awesome. And 2 back-to-back victories for women on this show, with the Inter-Commonwealth title being defended in a 3-way match. Delta retaining over Emma Usman and Nick Legstrong. Thank you, Todd, for making sure it was written correctly in my notes here.
Well, during this match, and excuse me, but I'm in shock. I'm still amazed. But during this match, someone pulled Nick Legstrong's hair off. And there was Nick Armstrong. I don't know the timey-wimey kind of time machine involved in this, because Nick Armstrong hasn't wrestled in Melbourne City Wrestling for about 6 months. So
yeah, he lost the Loser Leaves Town match, I remember.
Yeah, don't know how he could be there. No, this was fun. This was fun. Look, it was a bit of a foregone conclusion that Delta was taking that title home. And and
they couldn't have made her look more strong in the finish there. She bloody Roman Reigns stacked him, racked him, and packed him.
Yeah. And I'm fine with that, because it makes you go, who is next for Delta? Who is next for Delta? It won't be Jarvis again.
Whoever can take Delta down, clearly that will be a big deal. I think there was only one person that I can remember doing it at MCW, and that's Jake Andrew Arthur, right?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Anyway, moving on from that, Mitch Waterman defeating Robbie Thorpe. Once again, Mitch Waterman coming fresh off the return with back-to-back victories. Robbie Thorpe, anniversary with back-to-back losses. What did we think, Jeff?
I wasn't a fan of this. Not Mitch coming back. As we said earlier, I'm really pleased to see Mitch. The time away from MCW has done him wonders. I actually think that they're running a risk of Robbie being a jobber to the stars and never the fans will start to lose interest in him if he doesn't win something big soon. And he's a really good act. The present or the gift, Robbie Thorpe, is fantastic, and he carries himself really well, carries himself like a star. I know people have to pay their dues to the seniors in the company. I get that, but they've got to give Robbie a win either next show or the show after, because the crowd are eventually just going to lose interest and just go, well, he never wins anything. What's the point? Maybe they are setting him up to be next for Delta and eventually take that title. That's the only thing I can think they're doing if they're going to continue him losing.
I'm kind of going to disagree, just for the mere fact that over the 2 nights, he showed that he could work 2 entirely different types of matches.
Oh, yeah.
Like that match with Rocky was an older style, like a slower pace. Like it was a Rocky Monero match. It was a slower paced, well thought out, sort of like psychological match. Whereas like Mitch and him were very much more the modern, like little bit indie-rific, but not too indie-rific. Still told a bit of a story, but in the end, this whole weekend was a vehicle to get Mitch over. So that's why you use someone that can work with him like Robbie Thorpe to do that, because you weren't going to put him in with Jarvis back-to-back and have him beat Jarvis. So he's basically taken 2 guys that have gotten really good heel heat over the past couple of months, and he's beaten them in back-to-back nights, therefore sort of reestablishing where he is or where he can be on that food chain in MCW. I don't really think Robbie's lost a hell of a lot by it, because he can say, look, I barely had time to prepare. I didn't even know he was in Australia until the night before. How was I supposed to know that Rocky put me in this match because I got mad? Because that's what happened. There was a promo that was filmed, I think when he was asking Rocky for another match, and he's like, you can have Mitch the next night. that was played. Something like that. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. But I don't think he really does anything. I do agree that he needs to get a win, but I don't think it's hurting too much.
All right.
I think his personality will overflow that.
And if Rocky's a heel, isn't Robbie by default now a face? I mean, it's a confusing kind of grouping, I guess, that we're in. But
I think because just Robbie's a like egotistical asshole. He's still a heel. He still calls himself the Gift. He's still, you know what I mean? It's still
okay. But can you remember him winning a match? Because I can't.
He attacked and left. He attacked and left Rocky laying after that match. That was his by proxy win.
That was Andy PWDU says.
Okay, but it wasn't a match.
Robbie left the last Renegade show a bigger star in defeat. Yes, but that was for the world title. That was for the world title. Like if he loses,
it's not a world title. It's only a world title if you can defend it outside of the country.
Okay, well, the Renegades title. That was for the Renegades title, their big title. If you lose that, there's no disgrace, but it's just he needs to win something soon.
No, I don't disagree. I just don't think it's as serious as what you're sort of painting the picture.
Sure. I've brought up cage match for MCW. I've found 4 Robbie Thorpe appearances and 0 wins.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. I get what you're saying. His personality comes through. He hasn't won a match. I know that he can wrestle, but within kayfabe, I'm not convinced that he knows how to get a 3 count.
Yeah, but that's also like you had to look up cage match to find that out.
I could have.
I looked up cage match to confirm it because I couldn't remember a win.
But like sometimes your actions don't mean you don't have to win. Like as an example, right? This is just an example for you, Lachlan, because it's something that you'll be able to conflate to like get your arms around, right?
Yeah.
The guy that I manage, Mitch Ryder. Do you know what his win-loss record was last year?
Oh, atrocious! I don't think he won a match. Like
he had 22 matches. He won 4 of them. Now, every time he steps in that ring, you still think he can win that match, don't you?
How much of that time was he the champion?
Till June. So half of the year.
Yeah, so I don't think it's an exact comparison because Robbie Thorpe
wasn't a champion anywhere else, though.
But this was immediately after he held 3 belts at once. Like, I think it's an entirely different argument. It's a different situation.
And my point is that he's got to win something, and it's only because otherwise the crowd are going to lose interest. He's going to walk out, and the crowd are going to go, he's going to lose. It's a foregone conclusion. He's a heel. Let him win by cheating. He should have beaten Rocky by cheating because it would have added to what happened later in the night.
And then having this match against Waterman would have been a punishment that, Rocky puts onto him rather than just, get stuffed, Look, Andy's right. He's stupidly sexy, which means he gets more rope in wrestling. That's how it is. It's true. You can't deny what he has God given.
Sometimes as a heel, your actions can override your results. And that's the easiest way I can say it.
I fully agree, Todd, but I think someone needs to prove that they can win a match, and he just hasn't yet.
If you equate him, because his gimmick is very similar to Shawn Michaels when he just turned on Marty Jannetty and become the sexy boy. He didn't lose a match for ages. He just won and won and won. And
he lost a lot of matches to Randy.
Way back when?
When he first turned.
I don't remember that.
Don't recall.
But and I'm not saying it didn't happen, but at least on pay-per-views and major shows, he just kept winning. He just kept winning. and it got a lot more heat because he wasn't just the arrogant shit. He was damn good in the ring as well. Robbie is bloody good in the ring, and we're not getting a chance to really boo him for being that good in the ring as well. And I think that we need, they need to slow down and give him a couple of victories. That's,
I have a question for you, Todd. Like, I know that we're getting a bit caught up on this. Next show, let's say there's a Robbie Thorpe match against a face in MCW. Who is a face that you can put him against where I will not be sure who will win the match?
Emin.
I guess that's the one answer because Emin is also on an enormous losing streak.
Well, not really. We've just like challenged for a title, so you don't really going to lose. He technically won the Rumble,
and then
he technically won that Rumble. He won that Rumble.
He didn't technically win that Rumble. Nick Legstrong technically won that Rumble.
No. Nick Legstrong was named the winner of the Rumble. Technically, Emin won that Rumble. Like Bret Hart technically won that Rumble when Austin got thrown over and no one saw it.
Anyway, but getting back to my point, you put Robbie Thorpe against Emin. You know what I think in my head? They're right. Emin does need a win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? Like, I'm not convinced they're going to give Robbie Thorpe a win ever because they've shown that they think that he is fine without having one.
The only person I can see him actually going over is someone like Shen. And honestly, I think maybe that's what they need to do. Maybe they need to sort of go, okay, we need to rebuild Robbie a bit and give him wins over people that, are credible, but yet don't have the momentum yet. Because I think that, coming out of this weekend, yes, you're right. He absolutely showed that he can wrestle almost any style, and he's very, very good. He needs wins.
To be clear, we're having this conversation because we think he's excellent, right? The conversation is about, do we think that there needs to be a change in the way he's booked for believability? And yes. Jeff and I think the answer is yes. Todd thinks the answer is that the character stands on its own enough that they don't necessarily need to have a massive shift in that. Right?
No. What do people? I mean, what do people in the comments think? I mean, Tim says he's appearing in multiple companies in Melbourne. He isn't unknown. He needs a win. What do others think? Let's see while we continue to talk about.
While people contribute, we'll get to the main event. The big 6-man MCW World Heavyweight Title Tag Team Title winner takes all match. This one had Icons, Slex, Adam Brooks, and Rocky Monero up against Buddy Matthews and the Perea of Eli Theseus and Gabriel Eros. This one went the way of the Icons, Slex retaining that MCW World Heavyweight title and the Perea losing the MCW tag titles to Brooksy and Monero. What do we think of Icons holding the gold?
It was as soon as they announced the winner-take-all match for the following night, you could see this coming. Like, you knew this was going to wind up being the result. Look, I'm fine with it as long as Rocky is healthy. As long as Rocky can maintain a healthy schedule, I'm fine with it. If Rocky is in any way still injured or still unable to compete, I would rather it's a very, very, very quick title reign. I'm sure he's fine. I don't think Rocky would have put himself in that position. The finish to the match was highly questionable, with Edwin of all people getting booed, which is exceptionally rare. Yeah, Edwin got booed. But it was still, again, it was another sports entertainment finish, and you kind of expect that. But yeah, as long as Rocky's fine, I'm fine with the switch.
Todd?
It was a result that just sets a table for the rest of the year. That's going to be their storyline going through the rest of the year. It almost sets up like there's going to be some sort of a babyface GM to come in to like rival Rocky, to take that power away from Rocky. And no, not you. It's gonna be someone that can work, mate.
Oh.
Sorry, brother. No, work. So not.
I go to work.
Yeah, I can work.
But you know what I mean? Someone like a baby face, maybe someone that's been retired and is coming back, or they can't wrestle anymore, that they can do. I've seen Crackerjack do that now. Like he's done that role before. I think you're right. I think they're setting something up. Maybe it could even be Rowan. I doubt it. He doesn't seem to. No, I did. Yeah, Rowan doesn't seem to. I think those days are well past where he's going to do that sort of a deal. But yeah, it was a definitely because the match had ended. Then they were like Rocky demanded it got restarted and told Edwin if he didn't restart it, he was going to fire him. So all the heat went on Rocky for like pushing his GM powers into that. And so, yeah, sets the table for the rest of this, like the year going forward. Like the next show is called Icons. So, I mean, they're already like setting the table that this is the big bad heels for the year. And people are going to have to work up to get this title or the titles off these guys.
I think what was really, really nice about it was that, that the changes worked. Like those three heel changes absolutely worked. All three of them had incredible heat. The crowds were vocal, like really vocal, and booing. You don't hear boos, like boo,
and also
that often.
To your point, because we didn't even mention it too. Jarvis helped with that victory, but I don't know if you've noticed this. None of the publicity for MCW, none of the stuff with icons of it have Jarvis in the name.
No.
So maybe that face turn that you were talking about is coming.
I actually think by the end of the year, Jarvis will be a massive face. I really do.
I think maybe sooner than that.
I bumped into Jarvis and I said, "Hey man, good shows." And he said, "Thanks." I said, "You're going to be a face." And he's like, "Get fucked. No way. No. It's got to be." And then he goes, "It's got to be organic and real, right?" And then I just started laughing. Yeah, Tim Wilkes has just said Jarvis is the R-Truth of the group. And he is. He's hilarious already. Let's be honest. He's very funny. In the scramble, he went to do a jump, like he did the thing where he climbed the top rope. And the crowd were going, "Jarvis, Jarvis." And then he just gave it one of those and stepped down off the rope. And it was really funny. He's got so much charisma. The guy, I agree. I think he's going to be a face. Quite.
I just get that. Like I got that feeling because I was thinking about it the other day because they've already got the T-shirts out and those T-shirts don't have Jarvis's name on there. So he's not in the group. And so I think that's the way this is going to happen. It's going to be like, "Mate, you're not in this group. Thanks for helping us, but you're not in this group, mate. You fuck off." And so the crowd will get behind him. And then he has to have matches.
Yeah, definitely. And look, with Jarvis not in the group, there's a group that anyone here can be a part of, and it's subscribers to Wrestle Radio Australia. You just head to WrestleRadioAustralia.com. You can find all of our links there to hit subscribe. If you're here at twitch.tv/WrestleRadioAustralia, you can hit follow on here to get notified whenever we go live. Hit subscribe button if you want to support what we're doing. Devola, good to see you there, mate. Good old Rosie says, "Much love, lads. Question, where does the weekend leave Moretti in the fold?" I'll hang up and take my answer off the air. I think this is going to be a brilliant pitch for what we do, which is take a quick break. After that break, we're going to talk to people that doesn't go on the podcast. You might have heard recently a discussion of people to look out for who are upcoming in the Queensland scene that was not released on the regular version of the podcast. We have these chats all the time. Seems like tonight that chat is going to be where Moretti ends up in MCW. So make sure you're watching us on twitch.tv/WrestleRadioAustralia if you want to hear that chat. But we've got tons of news to talk about, even on the recorded version of the podcast, between Elimination Chamber and WWE and AEW and all that's going on in Japan and TNA. There's so much to talk about. So we'll be back to chat about it right after this. And that's where we make...
Finally, WrestleBrania has come back to Perth. WrestleBrania and EPW present the Perfect Elimination Chamber pre-show with host and general manager Jeff Setti.
Let's get ready to Brania!
Survivor Series has come and gone. There's that one moment, the one big moment, the big return, the return everyone's talking about. R-Truth is back.
Heel Captain Welchie.
I got a question for the face team. Was there a 2-for-1 sale at Lowe's?
Babyface Captain Alan Aldworth.
No deal. Android Page. It's dangerous.
Davis Storm. Comedian Rosavad.
It's great. The Escalationist apparently shops at Miller's.
Dirty Harry Hills.
How are you, Harry?
I think if we lost this, it'd kill me.
Comedian Luke Boland.
I took on 10 men and had my hand raised as the reigning hardcore champion.
Jesse Lambert. Damian Slater.
It's a series of games about wrestling.
WrestleBrania, the world's only wrestling comedy game show. Suck good shit. WrestleBrania will finish with plenty of time to get to the stadium for Elimination Chamber. Live at Linnet's Lounge. Tickets on sale now through Oztix.
Andy PWDU, wait till you see Jesse's promo for the... he's just said Jesse Lambert in the WrestleBrania video. It makes me pop every time. Wait till you see Jesse's promo. It's absolutely hilarious. I'm releasing that one tomorrow. So we've cut a promo together. That's from Jesse.
That is cool. We're still in break, guys. Because
sorry, I also want to let everybody know, and I'll say this on air later. We will not be saying anything about the former chair and CEO of WWE because there is nothing funny about that man. So there you go. Andy, have you got tickets?
Sorry, to add on to that, Jeff, we're probably not going to talk about anything like that on this show either. Just until the court case, because I don't think any of the stories that are coming out at the moment are really doing anything but just rehashing what everyone already knows. They're just like farming stuff to keep stories going. So until there's a court case or there's something that actually breaks that's actual news, then I just don't see the point in us talking about it and just rehashing the same thing again and again. We all know he's a fucking evil piece of shit. Why do we have to keep talking about that every week?
Yeah. We won't be making jokes about it. Andy, there's 3 different shows at Comedy Festival this year, mate. So every WrestleBrania show through the Comedy Festival is always different from the last one, which is great. And I'm about to start writing them. That's probably what I'll be doing in Perth a little bit earlier. And Tim, you are coming. And you just bought a ticket for the Sunday show as well, I noticed. So we'll see Tim both Saturday and Sunday. But yes, I can confirm we will not be making jokes about that horrible person because it's why waste my oxygen.
And to answer Devola's question, look, if I was MCW, I would probably point Mick towards Delta.
Former Intercontinental champ coming for that title?
Yeah. Well, he needs...
Just because I think there are stories you can tell.
He needs to rebuild.
I wonder why that camera is off.
I wonder too. Because I don't want you to be demonetized. I can fall into any shit with Twitch. Those of you who are watching,
it's medicinal.
It's medicinal. That says enough, doesn't it? But I don't want people to watch me doing that. Although I've been caught so many times on camera, it doesn't matter now anyway.
That's very true. I think that's a good move because at the moment there's a question of like who is possibly a threat to Delta for that title, and a guy with 2 lackeys is a good answer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Andy says a good thing here. He says, I want Rapid and Malik to get real identities before they go too far. I'm surprised they're still calling them Snap and Crackle. It does kind of suck. It does, mate. I completely agree with you, Andy.
Well,
it's pretty
does,
bad.
but then also, like, it's also establishing something for them to revolt from.
Yeah, right.
If that makes sense. Like, if you just went, like, this week, they were Snap Crackle, you wait 2 or 3 shows, and then that's it. We're revolting. We've been under the thumb for too long. You've been under the thumb for 3 shows.
Yeah.
But this is the thing that we've talked about with MCW. 3 shows is like 6 months. Like, you're right that it's been officially them for not that long. How long have Moretti's clowns been a thing that I've been bitching about?
Yeah, but that's you.
No one gives a shit about my opinion.
You're a complainer.
I'm a complainer. Yeah, thanks.
This is why I laughed.
Fucking hot kettle.
Well, I'm a critic. I'm a critic. You're a complainer. There's a difference.
That's the difference.
Because
sure.
I offer solutions. You just give me problems.
Tim Wilkes says Delta needs someone like Mick to work with before something big happens for it. Yeah, I don't disagree. And, like we're saying, there's a potential for something big in 10 days' time? Are you looking in a mirror, Todd?
It's, well, look, let's face it. When I'm talking to you like as a real, like from a behind the scenes perspective.
Yeah.
If she gets signed next weekend, she's still probably going to be in Australia for the next 10 months.
Yeah.
Because they have to set out paperwork.
Visa shit.
There's all of that sort of shit. So we won't probably even hear about her signing for 6-7 months. Look, I won't have that sort of discussion here on my platform.
I've got to do something. I've got to do something for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. I'm just going to leave and pop back in. Please don't restart till I come back. Won't be long.
All right. We are.
leaves the camera on. leaves the microphone on. Jeff, what did you do back there?
Yeah,
it sounds like you're wrestling a water buffalo. What are you doing?
Oh God, I can see Jeff's camera. Oh no. Yeah, look, Andy PWDU says, where do you think UGG goes from here? I feel like he could go upwards and be Slex's first victim, or he could go downwards to Robbie Thorpe. I think the thing about UGG is that you don't necessarily
just not be on shows.
That's what I was going to say, right? You don't necessarily need him doing anything. You've just got an UGG in your back pocket for when you need him. And I think that's almost more useful because I think he is an interesting person to put in an anti-icon stable, right? Because he's one of those people who you go, oh, that's a weapon that the icons can't do anything about. And then to watch them overcome it is interesting, and they have to really cheat. So I think that that's interesting, but I also think it's dangerous to do that too early in the icon's existence because you want it to be a credible point where they can be defeated, but with enough time left for them overcoming it to be not devastating to the momentum of the story.
I get this distinct feeling that we won't see him for a while. I just get it like a feeling in me waters.
Not based on inside information. That's just what you're getting.
No, that's the God's honest truth. I just because they've got so many young guys coming through that there are some people that are maybe going to have to force their way back in, or maybe someone gets injured and that's their chance. Because there comes a point in time where you have to give the young guys and the young girls like that opportunity, that spot. You can't always like go back to the quick fix or the old reliable, because the way of evolution, evolution
is a mystery.
It really is. It just feeds onto like, because in a year or two, let's say for some reason, like outside of wrestling, Ugg gets married, maybe has a kid, decides I've got to go to work. I can't, like, I've got to be like, just concentrate now on my work. I can't be doing this anymore. You don't have anyone else to fill that spot. So you bring up guys like Shen, you bring up guys like Robbie Thorpe, you bring up guys like Jarvis, like they did last year. Because you think about it, they filled roles that other people were in the couple of years before.
Yep.
It's a whole evolution, a whole, like, it's really just like, I know it sounds very like pipe bum CM Punk, but it's a machine. It really is. I mean, like the wrestling, the idea of promotions is to constantly be making the next people to because God willing, all these other people get signed. Like for all we know, next weekend happens, they sign Slex, they sign Brooksy back, they sign Delta, the Pereira gets signed. You know what I mean? That they lose, like, so they could lose, potentially they could lose if they really wanted to. If the WWE really wanted, hey, we're going to make a splash here, we're going to really invest in the Aussie market, we're going to sign those 5 people. That's the top half of the MCW roster gone.
Yep.
In 10 months.
Which 5 people?
I just said, like, because what I was saying, Jeff, is that like, as much as it was the CM Punk pipe bomb, like, wrestling promotions are machines. And you have to keep bringing the next people up to be able to fill the spots of people that could potentially leave. And I said, if for some per chance, like next weekend, the WWE just go, right, we're going to really invest in the Aussie market here. I'm going to sign Brooksy. I'm going to sign Slex. I'm going to sign the Pereira. I'm going to sign Delta. This is like fucking 1,000-to-1 shot this will happen. But if they did, that's 5 of your top acts gone in 10 months. So you have to have people ready in 10 months to take that spot.
But who is the next generation? I mean, obviously Jarvis stands out, Tommy stands out, but who then?
Jarvis, Tommy, Slex, Ryan Rapid.
Slex is gone.
You've got, like,
by your definition,
sorry, not Slex. So I meant Dusk. That's who I meant.
Dusk.
I apologize. Sure. Dusk. You got Ryan Rapid. You got a whole lot of guys that are currently in PCW that given a chance could probably do stuff. There were guys like, and I mentioned it on as an offhanded thing on when I talked about people in 2024. JJ Thurno, if he found something that was like a spark, could really be someone as well. There are a lot of guys from Relentless that could come through and really like take over. I mean, JXT could be a good one, but I say that in a way, and I don't mean it as an insult, because I don't think there's a danger of him going anywhere else.
Yeah, I think he's very much Australian bound at the moment.
So, but that's yeah. But that's, I mean, that's what I say. That's why I say stuff like, I don't know how much we'll see UGG in MCW like this year. I just for some reason in me waters, I don't think it's going to happen.
And I think you save it up for, you have some feud for the title, and then you have some team going for the tag titles, and you make that the thing that Icons have got to deal with. And then 4 or 5 months down the line, you go, oh, here's the Natural Classics, and they've got UGG on their side, and they're going to bring down the Icons. And everyone goes, ooh, that could be the thing that does it. And then it doesn't.
Also, too, breaking news, the Natural Classics won't be at the EPW Super Show on the weekend. They announced it tonight. So
have they announced
the 2 spots? They haven't announced the well, it's not a team. I don't think they're in a tag match. I think they were just in the Rumble.
They were in the Rumble.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
I don't think they were in.
I'm ready. You need a 5'7" Jewish bloke. Every Rumble needs a 5'7" Jewish bloke.
I've already had my match for the year, unfortunately.
Lachlan, you're up. You're going to be there.
I am going to be there. If they're paying, look, Tim Wilkes says if WWE wanted to make a splash, Wise and Bronson in the chamber, Bronson's getting a match. That Bronson will be doing something. I'm not
they
worried
wouldn't have
about
had him. They wouldn't have had him complaining or being upset about not being going through unless they had something in mind for him. So that's just to get people like you upset and talking online about it.
Yeah, Bronson's got something. It's fine.
So, should we get back to business?
Back to business. Yeah, we probably
back
should.
to business.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1, go, Lachlan.
Welcome back to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia podcast, where we talk about everything going on around the world of wrestling. And boy, there's a lot going on around the world of wrestling, isn't there? There's the clap. Thank you. Let's start with WWE and talk about Elimination Chamber, which is coming up so quickly. It's a week from Saturday. And, of course, everyone's going to be in Perth already. They're going to come straight from WrestleBrania, thanks, Todd, to Elimination Chamber. And then the day after, they're going to be at the Wrestle Radio Australia and on the Turnbuckle unofficial post-show podcast thingamajig. So we're all going to be there live and get to see what happens. Here's the announced lineup for Elimination Chamber so far. We're going to have the Grayson Waller effect featuring Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. There's going to be a match for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. That's with the Judgment Day defending against the team of Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. The Women's World Championship's going to be on the line as Rhea Ripley defends against Nia Jax. There's going to be an Elimination Chamber match to determine the Women's World Championship challenger for WrestleMania 40. We've got 3 women to be determined for that match. The 3 already qualified are Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, and Liv Morgan. And a Men's Elimination Chamber match to determine the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins challenger for WrestleMania 40. 2 wrestlers still to be determined. Currently confirmed for that are Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, LA Knight, and Bobby Lashley. This is a fairly stacked card. Obviously, 2 Elimination Chamber matches are big. We've then got 2 world title matches, as well as a Grayson Waller effect set to go.
Yeah, you would,
as we were talking about during the break, probably something for Bronson Reed to make an impact on.
You would think that the last 2 people in the Elimination Chamber would be Logan and Kevin Owens.
And Owens.
I would imagine, yeah.
To set up a Mania match.
I would imagine.
Yeah, quite possibly. I'm really
before we talk about like Elimination Chamber, should we talk about, because we've been off for a week, so we didn't talk about the whole WrestleMania press conference and the whole.
It was a lead-in, Todd. Get with it, mate. Because obviously, this chamber match is to set up the challenger for the World Heavyweight Championship, but the Universal Champion is still Roman Reigns. Boys, Jesus Christ. I do the clap, okay?
You should see a doctor about that.
Yeah, Lachlan's got the clap. No one else can take the clap.
I wouldn't go bragging about that, brother.
Fine, you boys do the podcast. Cody announced that he was going
to
allow The Rock to challenge Roman at WrestleMania, but then there was a WrestleMania press conference and Rock was a bit of a jerk and there was a slap, and now Cody's back to challenging Roman to finish the story. And also Drew was like, why did you do that? And Drew got a fine for wearing a shirt that he had 2 of. That was fun, actually. I was saying that in a way where I was dismissive of it. I really liked Drew having the CM Punk main event tombstone shirt. And when he got fined for wearing it, took it off to reveal exactly the same shirt underneath. That was good fun.
Personally, I
like
they're selling
he's doing some of his best work.
I will buy one.
Yeah, he's doing amazing
doing some of his best work lately. Yeah, they really sort of, like, they still haven't explained why Cody in the first place turned it down. Because the problem, the thing at the moment is Cody literally said on a microphone, I'm going to take that title from you, just not at WrestleMania. And then turned around a week later and went, No, I'll do it at WrestleMania. So they sort of haven't explained that plot hole as of yet. But like, you got to give it to The Rock though. For if this was the plan, they've done it well. If it wasn't a plan for them pivoting and The Rock just going, fuck it, I'll just be a heel.
I think what I found really interesting is when The Rock said, when you talk about his family in relation to Roman, he didn't say you're talking about The Rock's family. No. For one of the few times he said you're talking about my family. He doesn't speak about himself in the first person very often. Really interesting stuff. I think this heel version of The Rock is evolving and going to be fascinating. I think he can turn around now and say, when I said to you, do I take a seat at the head of the table? I didn't mean against Roman. I meant alongside him. This is just like this pivot, as you mentioned, Todd, amazing. I'm so on board with it.
Yeah, I think what is going to happen is what I originally said is going to happen, just differently. Like, I think night one is going to be a tag match, and that's when you'll see a bust up between The Rock and Roman. Like, Roman might fucking spear the shit out of The Rock at the end of the match for some God knows reason. And then for the Cody and Roman, the Bloodline will come in and interfere, and The Rock will fucking come out and save him, and then set up their WrestleMania match for next year on the Raw, like I'd said before. I think that's the way it's going to happen. I don't know who they're going to have challenging Seth the next night, because that to me is the biggest like question mark at the moment, because there are a lot of guys that you could say, yep, that'll be a good match. Like, do you really want to, even though Drew's doing some of his best work that he's done in God knows how long, do you want to see that match again when they literally just finished it?
The hottest act they could give it to surely is LA Knight.
Well, like, here's the thing. You got LA Knight. You got Randy Orton, who's still pretty fucking hot after his comeback. Like, Bobby Lashley, not as hot, but still, like, they couldn't make him a heel because the crowd were cheering him so bad. Like, they were trying to make that team a heel, and like, oh shit, we can't do it. They keep cheering for Bobby. Like, there are a lot of guys here. Like, the only two people I can't see winning it are the two people that haven't made it in the cage yet.
Because they're going to be wrestling each other.
Because they're wrestling each other. And also, there's a rumor. There was a rumor, sorry, that Jade Cargill was going to be in the Elimination Chamber, but they pulled her. I kind of understand why when I've read some stuff, like, because why would you have her debut be somewhere where, because she's obviously not going to win, because you wouldn't put her through straight away. So why would you have her take a pinfall loss in her first appearance?
The answer is you have Becky win the chamber to set up Rhea Becky, which they've been building towards.
Of course.
And then you have Bianca, who is also in the chamber, go for the match against her, which they built towards at the Rumble. Right? Like, there's so many obvious money matches here. It's crazy. I think that
you don't need the chamber to do that. You know what I mean?
No.
You don't with Jade.
But I think that they know the response that an Australian crowd is going to have when LA Knight wins the Elimination Chamber. It's going to be my loudest yeah boy ever. The amount of people yelling yeah in that building.
He's going to love it so much, is Jeff.
Yeah. It's going to be, I think, really solid there. But when it comes to the like Roman stuff, I think we are going to see Rock screw Cody out of finishing the story at this Mania. I think then what we're going to get is Cody blaming Rock for the reason he wasn't going to fight Roman was because Rock had convinced him not to, because he thought Rock was going to end this reign of terror, when really it was just Rock, protecting his family. And that's going to lead to Rock Cody at SummerSlam, which then eventually leads to Rock Roman at Mania 41, is what I think they're building towards.
I think you're thinking Rock is going to work a lot more than what he is.
I think he's going to work a total of 2 matches.
Yes, WrestleMania, then WrestleMania the next year.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do more than one a year. I think Cody's going to win it this year. I don't think he's going to hold it for long. I think I think if they don't do it this year, then people will really be pissed. Like,
I think they kind of have to.
I think we're more likely to see Cody wins clean. The Rock comes out to take, because the night before he was accidentally speared by Roman. You've got that right. Cody wins clean. The Rock comes out to take some revenge on Roman and beats him up, and Roman turns face, fights him at Mania next year, and that's Roman's last match as well. So they both.
So we don't think Roman's going to beat the Hulk Hogan record anymore?
I don't think he can right now. Cody.
I think they run the risk. If they do what you say to Cody, they run the risk of completely blowing Cody. And I think that they're really invested in Cody as being the face of WWE from a babyface standpoint. I think something will happen in that match, in the tag match, and then you'll do the normal match that everyone boos at because bloody Solo Sikoa comes out and interferes, and Jimmy comes out to interfere. But then you'll hear If You Smell, and he'll come down, and he'll either come down looking like he's going to interfere for Cody and then fire off on the Bloodline and get rid of them, or he'll just come straight out after the Bloodline to set up Mania next year, because that's what the Raw after Mania will be, is The Rock and Roman in the ring face to face saying you and me next year, because then both of them can go away for a while.
Alex Fireheart said it before, we'll say it again. Rock Roman does not need the title, so having Cody take it off him to free him up to face Rock next year makes the most sense.
Yeah. That's exactly what Jeff
decided. All right, Jeff's
yesterday.
Gone. So now that Jeff's gone, we can talk about AEW, right?
Well, we still go through some of this other stuff with, like, do we think that Ripley Jax will main event the show, or do you think it's going to be one of the cages?
I think it'll be a chamber main eventing the show. I think that they're going to have Ripley and Jax right in the middle to have people go wild before everyone goes to the bathroom. I think that's the one to go. And yeah, I don't think that we're seeing titles change hands on the show. I think that it's going to be pretty straight down the middle, but they're going to rely on Australia for the same kind of pops that they got in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I don't like, as much as I wouldn't mind seeing like the British Strong Style win, I don't think they're going to win over Judgment Day unless R-Truth has something to say about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think with that match, and how's that for an entrance back?
Well done, brother.
That match, we might see British Strong Style win, because I think Priest is going to cash in and take the title at WrestleMania.
Yeah, Tim Wilkes says Truth cost Judgment Day the titles as a theoretical storyline there.
Unless they're building to Awesome Truth versus Judgment Day at Mania.
Which will be a nice moment, let's be honest. It'll be a beautiful...
Like, I don't love it, but I mean, you can see that that's where this is going.
I don't think they're going to do Awesome Truth. I really don't.
Why? He tried to call Miz last show.
Yeah, I know they're hinting at it. I don't think they're going to do it.
You can't do Awesome Truth at Mania because Miz's most recent opponent at Mania has to come out and have another match with him. Snoop Dogg. We've got to see a continuation.
I was like, Shane McMahon?
No, Snoop Dogg.
Alex Fireheart says, was reminded the other day Nia Jax was born in Australia, so that title match is technically two Aussies. You don't want to claim
look,
that.
No, mate.
Does anyone else think
my dad served in Vietnam. Technically, his balls were over there. Doesn't mean I'm part Vietnamese. You know what I mean?
Jesus. Shane McMahon versus this
like
quad.
she was there for 5 seconds. Saying that she's an Australian is just like saying I'm Hawaiian because I was there for a holiday for 2 weeks.
Let's talk about the AEW Revolution lineup because we got so much to talk about.
Can I just put forward? Can I just say, and I'm sure you guys already said this, but does anyone think that Nia can beat Rhea? I mean, imagine the heat. Imagine the heat if she did.
But why would this? Oh, there might
be
conclusion. There might be riots.
It'd be funny. It'd be something McMahon. Well, something the former.
He's like, I said the word. I didn't want to say the word.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
Clearly, neither of you boys want to talk about AEW, so I've got to take it on myself to talk about the lineup for Revolution. Sting's retirement match is going to happen. It's with Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks for the AEW Tag Team
Hasn't been
Championship.
confirmed yet, but that's the way it definitely seems.
That's what they're building. The AEW World Championship is going to be on the line with Samoa Joe defending against both Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland. The International Championship on the line with Orange Cassidy defending against Roddy Strong. The Women's Championship, Toni Storm defending against Deonna Purrazzo. The Continental Crown Championship, Eddie Kingston defending against Bryan Danielson. And if Danielson loses, he must shake Kingston's hand. And Konosuke Takeshita versus Will Ospreay. I have nothing to complain about on the card, I guess, other than the Young Bucks being there.
No, Takeshita Ospreay was added today on Dynamite, just so you know.
Look, I think this is all really, really positive. Actually, this will be a good thing. I hope they let Sting retire with the belts. I hope they do.
If they don't add more matches.
Although they're definitely going to add more matches.
Oh, they're going to add about more than 9.
I'm fine with there being 7. Right now they're at 6. They've got
at least another 6 to add.
The over-under is on like 11.5, right?
Mm. Well, when is it? It's in March 5th or something. So you got what, 3 weeks?
Jesus, I didn't realize it was that far away too. They're going to add so many more matches.
Yeah. I mean, the Bang Bang Scissor Gang will break up and they'll do a unification match by then. And bloody,
we will definitely see Christian Cage doing something.
Yes, Christian and Edge,
probably Christian and Adam Copeland. We will,
This is the thing I'm getting at with AEW, right? The card that I just read out, stacked out.
Excellent.
6 great matches, right? The other probably 6 matches that they'll add would probably also be a pretty good pay-per-view. You don't need 12 on the one card. It makes me not care about any of them because I don't want to sit through 12 matches.
Yeah. I mean, that hasn't happened yet. We don't know, so let's not go getting... We just know the form.
If they add 2 or 3 more, I'm sort of like, yeah, well, that's fine. But you're right. It's overkill if they add too many.
But like what you're saying, Jeff, is this is something that's happening in March, and you're saying, oh, if they go to 9 matches, that's probably fine. Elimination Chamber is next Saturday. They've got 4 and a segment booked. Right? Like this is the difference. This is EBE Online said exactly it. Tony has a habit of adding 4 in the Rampage before the show.
And also, it's worth noting that there's going to be no collisions for the next 2 weeks either. So they've both those weeks are being preemptive. So it gives them even less TV time to set stuff up. The whole Samoa Joe, Hangman, Swerve thing, while it's going to be a good match, like they've already like fucked with this ratings thing that the rankings thing that they said was coming back. They've already gone, no, we're just going to do this instead. That's my one bugbear with that. The other one with that is, do you remember a while ago the Ring of Honor thing with Eddie Kingston and Claudio Castagnoli, where Claudio, if he lost, had to shake Eddie's hand to show him respect?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm kind of seeing the same thing happen
too. Yeah,
it's almost too soon to do that again. In my opinion,
yeah,
it's too soon. Like, give it another year, sure. And I like both those guys. I think it's going to be a really fun match. But
look, the main event's going to be fucking
Kingston
great.
And Danielson, really? You think they're good?
But yeah, like Paige, Joe, and Swerve is going to be a really, really good match. What I cannot understand, right, is because they did this whole thing last week on Dynamite where It was a number one contenders match. Whoever won that match between Swerve and when Hangman was going to be the number one contender and get the shot against Samoa Joe. So it goes to time limit draw, and then Swerve's like, give me 5 more minutes. And Hangman's just like, no, you don't deserve 5 minutes. And all of a sudden, Hangman's the bad guy. Hangman, the guy that Swerve broke into his house, went after his kids in a crib, and the crowd are mad at him because Hangman won't give him 5 more minutes. All of a sudden, that makes Hangman the heel now. I
think the dynamic between Hangman and Swerve has been a little wonky, if you like. I agree with you, Todd. But there's just no way you can keep Swerve a heel, and their in-ring work together is great. So why not keep them together? But I do see what you're saying. Also, Ospreay against Takeshita, they're in the same stable. The fuck is going on there?
Yeah, even like Kyle Fletcher even tweeted like,
Yeah. And he's in the stable as well.
Yeah, he's in the United. But the thing is, like, they're in whatever that stable is, like the family. But then Will and Thing are in United Kingdom together.
So. All right, let's talk some other AEW news, though. QT Marshall's back in AEW. He's returning to the executive role he previously held, but he won't be an in-ring talent, as first reported by Fightful. As part of the deal, he's free to wrestle for other promotions, except for WWE. Also, Rocky Romero has joined the AEW front office. He's still working for New Japan Pro Wrestling in addition to his new AEW role. So that's kind of interesting, but not shocking. Along with that, there's a couple of people that it sounds like are big deals joining the AEW roster.
Can we just talk about this other thing first?
Sure. Because,
like, I find it really funny because online, like, AEW diehard fans have been railing on QT Marshall since he left, saying, well, he was the mole telling people everything. We're so glad we're rid of him. Blah, blah, blah. And now he's back. They're sort of like, yay, we're glad he's back. Yay. It's really fun. And the Rocky Romero thing, let's break down this forbidden door. I think, and this is just me, I do not represent the thoughts of Lachlan and Jeff at all. I think the only thing the forbidden door has been for New Japan, CMLL, AAA, AEW is a recruitment tool for AEW. Because every time someone comes in that forbidden door, they don't necessarily leave, or they leave to come back again later. So, like, they come in, Tony gets to have a chat with them. Hey, when your contract's up, maybe come and have a chat with us. I can offer you way too much money. No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's very, like, he's waiting until they're out of contract. He's doing the proper thing like that. But let's not like kid ourselves that he's just not using it as a recruitment tool, because I don't see the other companies really benefiting out of this as much as what AEW do. Every time something like this happens, one of these crossovers happens. This just could be me, and you guys can definitely, like, give me counterpoints on this.
There were also good matches on Forbidden Door cards.
Yeah. But if he is using it as a recruitment tool, good for him. You know, good for him.
Like if they're dumb enough to agree to it, then yeah. But I just don't see any of the. But, like, I saw somebody breaking down what they thought the benefits were. It was like, oh, will New Japan World get AEW content on their thing, and the Forbidden Door brings in money? I was like, well, I'm pretty sure New Japan would be paying for that, licensing that AEW content on New Japan World. So they're not making any money off that. Really, any additional money that they were making. AEW get all the profits from Forbidden Door. I don't think any of those profits are shared with a New Japan or a CMLL or whoever else is on these things. So I don't see how they're. The only thing they're benefiting on is that age-old thing, independent wrestling, when promoters used to say, look, I can't pay you, mate, but you're going to get exposure. It's the hot dog and a handshake equivalent.
Ladies and gentlemen, this segment of Old Man Work Yells at Cloud is brought to you by WrestleBrania. Next week, live at Perth, WrestleBrania.
Paria magazine says very few dream matches available for Forbidden Door 2024 now.
Yeah. But you can tell me when I'm wrong. Yeah. It might be why New Japan want to host me. Yeah, they do, but then that never happens, does it? Like he sprinkles little guys over, but they'll never do a New Japan Forbidden Door in the Tokyo Dome.
No, well, look, there's a big dream opponent for people that came from doing those Forbidden Door shows, but it sounds like that person won't be coming through a Forbidden Door that much longer. Kazuchika Okada may have already made up his mind between AEW and WWE. Fightful Select reported on Sunday that Okada is expected to sign with AEW following his departure from New Japan later this month. According to the report, the deal between Okada and AEW was, quote, effectively agreed to in the last couple of weeks. Fightful has not confirmed that the contract's been signed. They also said that AEW has been confident that they would sign Okada for the last several weeks. Creative had ideas for him that were tossed around back in January.
Yeah, he's apparently his first opponent is a young new wrestler called AC Jericho. I don't know much about him. He's new, Chad or something, Jericho. Not sure.
I heard that.
And he he's a new wrestler, and he never signs an NDA. That's his thing. That's his go-to. Never signs an NDA.
I heard the creative was he's going to wear a limo driver's hat and a set of mask. He's going to hang out with Samoa Joe.
It's going to be a Green Hornet reference.
I'm definitely not a fan of this. I would have much preferred to see him in WWE.
Me too, but I expected this.
Yeah, same.
I'm not surprised by it, but I would have preferred that he went the other way.
Because Tony can offer something that WWE just can't. And that is, you can live in Japan still. You can live in England still. You don't have to do all the dates. We don't have a road schedule.
Yeah.
You can just come in and do it like a Dynamite or two before a pay-per-view, and we'll pay you $1 squillion to do it.
I think that's the big thing. I think the schedule is probably what you sign to AEW.
It 100% would be. It's 100% why like other people are re-signing with AEW, because the pay is way more than what WWE will offer, and the work schedule is a shitload lighter.
Oh yeah, it's 10%.
And this is my feeling, is that if you are doing the AEW schedule on the AEW money, you can do that for another 5 or 10 years and then go back to WWE, still be really quite fit, really well off, and do the cool work that you want to do in WWE with those big storylines later. Whereas if you're on the road every day with WWE, you're working harder for that money, and then in 5-10 years time, you're a little bit less better off than you are right now.
I think that depends on where you are in the food chain.
Yes.
Doing that. You know what I mean? You couldn't be say, who's someone that I could think of? I don't think you could be a Miro at the moment and do that.
Sure.
Still work in AEW for another 5 years and then come back to WWE and do that, because I just think the window's gone on that point, because you're not going to come in and do, and your name won't be. Let's face it, Miro's name value isn't as big as what it was as Rusev in WWE anymore, and not as big as what it was when it started in AEW.
No, absolutely. I personally think he's biding time till his contract's up. And then
Sure, but if you're Danielson or if you're Castagnoli or one of those, I think that the schedule's lighter, the money is good, and I think if WWE have the interest, which I think under Triple H for guys like that, there is interest, I would guess, I think that you have the potential to come back later. Whereas I think that the offer is on the table now for AEW.
I still think that, because I heard this a while ago, and don't ask me, I cannot remember where I heard it from. Because I heard that the WWE was sort of working on a theory or an idea of, hey, we're just going to let our older guys go to AEW. We're going to let as many of them, like Tony can spend as much money as he wants getting all these guys like your Edges, like your Monets, your all of these guys for untold millions, right? Because then they have to be prioritized on TV. And when they are, the younger guys from AEW won't be. And guess what they're going to do when they come out of contract? Come over to us. And we'll have a whole crop of young guys that have had 3 or 4 years on national TV experience that are ready to just come up and do real good stuff for us, like they did with Cody. And as much as people are sort of like still on the fence on it, I think you're going to see that with Lexus King in like a year or so, because he's working it out slowly, because he never had the chance to do that in AEW. I think that's a planned strategy at the moment from WWE. Like the guys that they really think that we need to keep, they're going to spend the money on. But I think that's 100% why they walked away from the table on Mercedes Moné.
I think that you're both partly right. I think that Trips would probably...
Is it comfortable on that fence, Jeff?
Oh, wow. Whew.
Thank you. Lachlan.
Sometimes you don't see the kick coming, but it hits.
Lovely to hear from you. You didn't even say what's the fucking foot. Anyway, you look so proud of yourself too, Lachlan.
He's real proud. He's real proud.
Wow. And let me finish what I'm saying here. I think there are some people that WWE would love to have back now, and including in that probably Moxley as Ambrose.
You know what? I don't think they would.
Oh, I do. Daniel,
I think they see that book. I think they see Moxley as more trouble than he's worth, because he's like intent on killing himself. So why don't you go and do it on someone else's TV?
Danielson, almost certainly, and Castagnoli, almost certainly. I think the fact that they can wrestle a lesser style for however long they want to before going back to WWE, I almost certainly, in Castagnoli's case, I could see him going back, is probably going to extend his career and give him a last cool run as Cesaro. And I think that's right.
I kind of agree with Danielson just because of the name value, and he was so big at that one time for WWE that I kind of disagree with Cesaro, because I think they pretty much got as much as they could out of him because of how long he was there. I don't think. No. I'm not like. Just let me finish my thought here, okay? I don't think because of the way that it ended up with him, I don't think there is a way they could have rehabbed that with him coming back, because it'll just be seen as that's that guy back again, and he would slowly move into that lower mid card where he was before. I think they'd love to have Alistair Black back, or Malachi Black. They would love to have him back. They was trying to say that 5 times.
Tommy Ann.
Probably
I'd love to have Tommy back.
Tommy Ann, yeah. And probably they'd like to have like Buddy Murphy back, because they're NXT Triple H guys.
I think that's why they're going to have. That's why they're going to have Claudio back, because Triple H loves Claudio. They were workout partners for years. And he and Sheamus are really close still. So
I mean, the only thing I could see that would be really fucking good is a Claudio Gunther series.
Oh, fucking dead.
But then after that, I don't know where you'd do with him. Like, honestly.
I think
because there are a lot. The thing is, there is so much talent in WWE coming through, so you don't need to bring these guys back. Do you know what I mean? This is why, like, if you watch NXT, you watch some of these girls that are coming through on NXT. This is why they felt comfortable in not spending the money on bringing Mercedes Moné back, because there are so many girls in that locker room that have so much potential. They're like, why are we going to overpay for Sasha Banks?
Here's the thing, though, Todd. Claudio specifically is at an age now where if you book him right, and you book him smart, he can get to the point where he can lose every other match and it won't be a problem. You've also got an incredible feud waiting to happen that's never happened on a Raw or SmackDown, and that is Sammy against Claudio. And it was a beautiful feud in NXT. Sure, it was a while ago, but Claudio still wrestles safe and he still wrestles well. I think that Trips would love to have him back. I really do.
I just think that their eyes are more on the future than they are on established stars coming back. Okay. That if they could get them and they fell in their lap, they'd take them. But I don't think they're going to chase them.
I think that the exceptions are Danielson and Claudio. Less so than Moxley, but I think that they wouldn't mind having Moxley back to have the Shield. To be able to just pull a Shield reunion whenever they want.
Yeah, that's fair. That bit I will agree with. But yeah.
Because the Shield were perfect. They were cool. They split up at exactly the right time. They didn't outstay their welcome. They came back for a nice little reunion before Moxley left. They could run that for years.
All right, let's mention a thing.
And Alex just said this. Sorry, Lachlan. Alex just said the Bar versus Imperium would be a fun tag title feud as well. Hell yeah, it would. Hell yeah. The Bar as faces. Let's do that.
We've hinted a couple of times at Mercedes Moné. She is all but confirmed with AEW. There's going to be a special on March 13th, an episode of Dynamite called Big Business. There's a bunch of teasers for Monet there. Further report noted that Monet has apparently been on the AEW payroll since at least early January. Quote from Tony Khan is that Big Business will be a major moment in history of All Elite Wrestling, and you all have a chance to be part of this once-in-a-lifetime moment, as well as a bunch of references in the graphic for Big Business that seem to point to Monet.
Yeah, spelling Boston with that double S was a big. Boston with a double S with the dollar signs was a big, massive giveaway. Yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah,
it's
going to happen.
Even more. It's even more than the Punk one was. The Punk, there was still a little bit of maybe about. There's no maybe about this, right?
Yeah,
that's what this show is.
Yeah, I just like the way he doesn't oversell it.
Yeah, that's right. There was at NJPW New Beginning in Osaka on Sunday, ZSJ had a victory over Bryan Danielson. And after the show, Danielson challenged him to a best 2 out of 3 falls match on neutral ground. From Danielson, quote, "The best technical wrestler in the world. It's not me anymore. It's Zack Sabre Jr. I hope the Japanese fans appreciate every time we get to see him. I didn't tap out, but he caught me. To be fair, if I'm going to give myself the benefit of the doubt, I think I might want one more. I beat him in AEW. He beat me in New Japan. Pardon me. I say we do this 2 out of 3 falls somewhere on neutral ground, and I'll leave it at that. Let's find a promoter, any promoter in the world who wants to do a 2 out of 3 falls match with me and Zack Sabre Jr. We'll find a way to get it done."
Paging Adrian Manera. Paging Adrian Manera.
Adrian.
You've had Zach. You've had Zach on.
Phone, Adrian.
You've had Zach.
Adrian had Danielson years ago.
You had Danielson. You've had them both, brother. Let's go.
Let's do it, baby,
brother.
Yes, he has had them both. I
don't think the Wide Bay, the Wide Bay
faithful.
I don't think the Wide Bay budget can quite fit that in this game. I think the Brolga Theatre is quite ready for the Danielson, Zack Sabre Jr.
The old Maryborough Town Hall, can it fit it?
2 out of 3 falls with these two. You're looking at like they're going to do an hour. There's no way it's going to be less than an hour, and it's going to be riveting. I love this trilogy. I love the trilogy that they've had because they have had a third match previously when they were both quite a bit younger. But this was just beautiful. Yeah, bring it on. I don't know where they'll do it. They've probably got somewhere in mind already. Probably, well, they can't do it in England. So, who knows where they'll do it.
Paging
Adrian Manera.
Saying, I'm going to clip this and send it to him.
A clash.
Somebody knows how to do that on here. Please clip this.
A clash over TNA Wrestling's budget may have played a role in Anthem Sports and Entertainment firing Scott D'Amore. TNA's parent company announced on Wednesday that Scott's contract had been terminated. Anthony, I have no idea how to say this last name, Ciccione.
Yeah.
Ciccione will be the new president. Meltzer reports he thinks that D'Amore thought it's time to spend some more money, try to go after more talent, try to build this thing up. We have a little bit of momentum. And the Anthem people were kind of like, we don't want to increase the budget, and maybe even wanted to cut back on the budget, but definitely didn't want to increase the budget. And it was just a standoff, and that's kind of what happened. There's also rumors he'd expressed interest in buying TNA off Anthem, but they weren't interested at all in selling. Talent were reportedly shocked and upset by the news, as he was hugely popular backstage. Yep.
That's
he was doing good work
for those guys.
He was doing great work.
He was apparently very key in the whole WWE TNA working arrangement that brought over thingy to Royal Rumble. So Jordan, yeah. So I mean, anyone that picks him up, I could see him doing really well with maybe Shawn Michaels in NXT.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be really good for him. I mean, even if he wanted to go and work for somewhere I don't so much know as MLW, because I don't know what that's like working with Court Bauer, or NWA with thingy, because I don't think that he works well with others. I don't think Billy works well with others either. But I mean, anyone that picks him up, or maybe he just starts something up on his own if he's got the capital to maybe buy. Because from what I hear, he's quite independently wealthy somehow. I don't know. Don't ask me how, but yeah. Even if he was to start something else up himself, could be an option.
All right.
I think that they're also missing. They're also missing an interesting on-air talent. The times he appeared on air were a bit like when William Regal would appear in NXT. It would be a moment. It would be a thing. I think
because he's a TNA original.
Yeah, I think the last 2 or 3 years under his sort of guidance and things, and especially some of the matchups he was producing on their major shows, like Will Ospreay against Speedball Mike Bailey. I said Speedball Mike Bailey tonight. Lachlan, you didn't. I got in before you. I've won.
It wasn't me. Hello.
I think that things like that will really, really be missed. Saying that, give Ciccione a chance, but I don't like the way this was done.
The problem I have with this guy taking over, he has no wrestling experience.
Yeah.
His experience comes from marketing or something like that. So he's not an experienced. It's like having Jim Herd in charge of WCW. From what
I was going to say, I've heard he's got an idea for a new tag team called the Ding Dongs.
Ding Dongs.
Just ring the bell in the corner, whole match. No, look.
Are people allowed to jump off the top rope? That's
If it doesn't work and they start going down the hill, do you think they'd go back to Scott D'Amore and kind of eat crow?
Who knows? See, you don't know why they've got TNA. You don't know if it's there for a tax write-off. You don't know if it's there for they just have something in their portfolio. You just don't know.
True.
Absolutely. All right. Another similar story with Bushiroad firing Stardom founder Rossi Ogawa as the company.
I thought this one was right up your alley.
This is
because you know a lot more about it than me, so I can actually ask you questions and you can authoritatively answer them to me.
Yes, so this is very much up my alley, especially when it comes to Bushiroad, because they're a very interesting company, right? The claim is that Ogawa was poaching Stardom talent and staff. He's no longer employed. They announced Sunday night they've terminated his contract. In their statement, Bushiroad stated the reason was because they learned that he had, quote, poached many Stardom players and staff. Ogawa had begun to be overruled by Bushiroad fight leadership around 9 months ago, leading to him initially putting in his notice with the company in November, which Stardom accepted. His initial end date was February 18th, with the last show under his supervision being the February 4th show in Osaka. There are rumors that he's looking to start another promotion in Japan. Julia is expected to hold off any WWE signing to help with this. Tony Khan, it's believed, thought Rossi was holding workers off AEW programming, and he did somewhat of a victory lap on Twitter/ X following Rossi's firing, which reportedly, according to one report, a person close to the situation in Stardom said, "You have no idea how upset wrestlers and media are about Tony sticking it to Rossi." Reports from backstage are that a lot of the talent were very upset and a little bit blindsided by this. But it's very interesting that when we see these reports about, the quote that he's poaching staff, when Julia, who is kind of a person who is very closely associated with Ogawa, was brought into Stardom in controversial fashion after a quote-unquote poaching from Ice Princess. So this is like a situation where, as much as people are saying, like, no, Ogawa's essential to the company, and people are saying, like, there's no way that he was poaching people, literally the person that is sticking around in Japan to help him in Julia was apparently poached and still under contract with Ice Ribbon when she debuted with Stardom. So there's a lot going on here. And then to add it to this, if you're looking at this from a legal point of view, where their concern is all of this poaching and everything, Bushiroad are in a situation even more so than Anthem, like we were talking about with TNA, where Bushiroad are not a wrestling company. They are not. Their money is not in wrestling. They have more money in trading card games by an order of magnitude than they do in professional wrestling, right? They publish manga magazines that
they own New Japan too, don't they?
Correct. But again, like, owning New Japan is not what they are as a company. What they are is an entertainment company that happens to own New Japan, right? And it'd be, I would compare it not as big a deal, but similar to when we were talking about potential, Netflix buying WWE, right? This is the kind of thing we're looking at, where Bushiroad is a company that publishes manga and rakes in money on trading card games. And they, own so many different things that, like, my guess is they would make more money off their apps and, like, mobile games than they do off of the wrestling, including New Japan and Stardom. That's not, I don't have numbers on that. But, there we go. Alex Fireheart, who is a fellow, like, Stardom lover like me, said that he knows a lot of people who know more about Stardom than they do, celebrating Rossi being gone. Definitely something.
Why is that, though?
So Rossi, as the founder of the company, is obviously very essential to who they are. But it feels like when Rossi is personally involved, and again, this is translated and behind the scenes conversations that are happening in a different country. So if I got any of this wrong, I apologize. But it really seems like the way that in WWE, when something was bad, people would say, oh, this has Vince's fingerprints all over it. There was a little bit of that when it came to Rossi. Like, his vision for the company as a whole seemed to be, yes, let's keep Joshi alive and the spirit of good women's wrestling alive in Japan. But his actual, like, business sense, his booking sense, when he was involved in stuff, it wasn't necessarily things that fans saw as positive for the company, especially when there's going to be controversy over, the way he's bringing in talent. Like, when you've got someone like Julia, who arguably was the ace of Stardom for some time, being brought in while under contract to Ice Ribbon, that's a problem. And there was one person whose name was associated with that, and it was Ogawa.
Okay. So, but if this stuff had been going downhill for the last, like, year or so, right? Wouldn't that sort of tie into when, like, Bushiroad started overruling his decisions? So the stuff that the stuff that people are maybe blaming on Rossi could have been Bushiroad, and he's got nothing to do. He's got no idea of, like, I'm just asking. I have no idea about it. So
these feelings about Rossi are not new, right? Stardom's been around for a long time. And off the top of my head, I can't remember. I believe, again, it was a similar situation to New Japan, where it was acquired by Bushiroad rather than Bushiroad starting this company, right? So Rossi was the founder of the company, and then Bushiroad have come in and gone, yeah, we want a part of that, and bought it out, while keeping him in charge. So they are just kind of like the parent ownership. And Bushiroad Fight is the people that oversee New Japan. I even think it wasn't that long ago. It was like 2018 or 2019 they bought Stardom. So Stardom's been a big deal for a long time. You know, when you talk about people like, you know, the women who are in WWE at the moment, like Kairi Sane, like Io Shirai, like Kana / Asuka, making their names in Stardom over a decade ago. And then in the last 5 or so years, Bushiroad have come in and bought it. And now Ogawa is out.
But I also heard that, like, I read somewhere that the reason that Kyrie went back to WWE is because she heard that Rossi was going to be out.
This is a report that I've also heard. And while some of the fans don't love Ogawa, it definitely seems like the talent backstage historically have had a really positive relationship with Ogawa, at least from what I'm hearing, right? So like this is what you hear when people are apparently really upset about Tony Khan's reaction to this. It comes from people backstage having positive associations with Ogawa, whereas some of the fans are more directly comparing what they feel are negative business and booking decisions to Ogawa, whereas we don't know what that relationship is like backstage.
Whereas like Tony did basically did the Young Bucks version of the victory lap around the ring at Collision on Twitter when he got fired.
Yeah. So, but you know, also on top of that, it feels like Ogawa was quote unquote blocking Stardom talent from going over. The way that Stardom talent feel positive about Ogawa seems to indicate that maybe he was a scapegoat for that, is what I've heard some people theorizing, that Ogawa would say to Khan, no, I'm not letting them come over, and then say to whoever it was, don't worry, I've got you covered.
Yeah, because a lot of times they had shows on the same day too. For like Forbidden Door and that, there was a Stardom show on that same day. So why would he sacrifice 2 or 3 of his workers to go over there to do a Forbidden Door show when he's got to look after his business?
Yeah, exactly. Look, this is a complex one. We will see more of this coming out, especially it sounds like Ogawa is going to start a new promotion. Now, there's no shortage of Joshi promotions that are doing interesting things. But if Ogawa was to start, theoretically Stardom 2, it'd be really interesting to see which female Japanese performers would be going there, especially if it's headed up by Julia in its, infancy, having such a strong, initial person to, I would assume, put the first belt on.
And also, like, if they've done this, because obviously this has been sort of an arrangement, if it's the case and Julia is sticking around with, like, Rossi to start it up, she's obviously had this agreement with WWE to do that.
Yeah.
So absolutely. You could imagine that WWE was like, well, maybe we'll send some NXT girls.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it could well happen.
And again, experience over there.
I have a question about this, and that is where this person is a former Stardom wrestler, and now he trains Stardom wrestlers backstage, and that is Kagetsu, because Kagetsu and Rossi are very close. Where does Kagetsu go?
It's very interesting because Kagetsu also has like a long-running negative relationship with Asuka, formerly Kana, right? So this is one of those things where, working through not only the language barrier and the distance that it takes when it comes to these Japanese promotions, but then also the kind of secrecy that is inherent in Japanese culture. I shouldn't say secrecy inherent, but the way that there's much more, much more opaque barriers between what is happening backstage and what's going on shows. Asuka was actually at the time blacklisted from Stardom, it seems, for going off on Twitter about the fact that Stardom was against her, right? And we still don't know a whole lot about that situation other than Asuka claims that Stardom hated her and wanted to keep her down because she was doing risque photo shoots to push her image promotionally, and Kagetsu was against that because Kagetsu was not as traditionally feminine and wasn't going down that path, right? There's so much interesting historical foundation that goes into these relationships that it's hard to know functionally what this is going to look like, right? So whereas Kairi Sane went back to Stardom recently, I cannot see Asuka going back. So there's very, very interesting and tenuous relationships across the board.
I think Asuka won't go back for a couple of reasons, principally because she's clearly so respected by Triple H that she's in a position that Stardom just can't offer her. She's also fucking wonderful.
But I'm talking about not as like a permanent thing, but as a short-term thing. If this new, quote-unquote, new Ogawa promotion was to exist and the Triple H regime were to support it.
But also, like, I'd be wrong. I wouldn't be wrong in assuming it's been years since that happened, yeah?
Yes.
So surely there's like water under the bridge type deal.
I feel like Asuka tweeted about it recently or something.
Okay.
I have no idea. It could be, but it also could not be. And I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Come on, Lachlan. One job. Josie Wrestling. That's your job, brother.
I strongly recommend people check out Kagetsu's run in Stardom. It is fascinating. It is just one of the best. It's one of my favorite heel runs ever.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal.
You know,
in saying that, if you are squeamish, maybe don't watch it.
No, don't, because she's a bully.
Yeah.
The character is a bully. It's a complex thing because Kagetsu has transitioned, so it makes using pronouns for Kagetsu.
Sorry, when we're saying Kagetsu, we're referring to the kayfabe character Kagetsu, who was a female wrestler in a Joshi promotion. The person who portrayed Kagetsu has now transitioned and uses he/him pronouns.
Yes, and works backstage at Stardom. And as I said, that's a question.
Tyler Rex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who is now gay? No, what's her name? Gabriel or Gabby?
Yeah, Gabby
Tuft,
something.
I think.
Gabby, that sounds right. Yeah. Right. So Tyler Rex, that was never that person's real name, right?
No.
When we refer to Tyler Rex, we're talking about a character from WWE.
Yes.
And Tyler Rex was a dude. Like that's what that character was, competed in the men's division. Whereas Gabby Tuft is now the real name of the performer who portrayed Tyler Rex.
Exactly. Yes. And apparently he's back in training.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Cool. Anyway, that was a long...
this is probably the longest we've ever talked about, like, Josie.
And I'm loving it. I will take
I thought you would do. I was literally smiling when I was writing this going, this would be the happiest that Lachlan's ever been on this show talking about wrestling.
Yeah. And you can see, especially because, like, I think everyone is kind of aware that Joshi is, like, very good wrestling. Like, there's no one who, even if you don't watch it, you kind of know that Japanese women's wrestling has got stuff going on. And then you dig into it, and there's so many of these, like, relationships, like the Asuka Kagetsu thing, which had Asuka stating that a whole company existed exclusively to bully her on Twitter live, and we still don't know all the details. Like, that's crazy. And that line between kayfabe and reality that still exists partially because of, you know, the language barrier and the cultural barrier that exists there, I find really fascinating, along with it being some of just the best wrestling that's on. I can't get enough of that stuff. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity to talk about Stardom. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Ogawa, and we will keep an eye on whatever promotions come out of this / change because of it. We've been recording for a long time. I think it's time to do our chicken salad and chicken shit really quickly. Does anyone want to start with some chicken shit, get some bad stuff out the way?
Yeah, I do. On Sunday night, Sunday evening, Buddy Murphy was doing a farewell speech in the middle of the ring. It was quite lovely. It was a beautiful moment. The crowd were chanting, "We want mummy." And he goes, "So do I." And that was lovely. But before then, there was a section of the crowd that started chanting, "What? What?"
He's back on this again.
Fucking enough.
At least it wasn't
True. But these people aren't there. These people do not have any relevance to Australian wrestling. Do not be so disrespectful to Buddy Murphy to chant "what" in the middle of his promo. It was pretty cheap. It was pretty nasty. Please don't do it again.
Lachlan.
There you go.
I'm with you on hating the "what" chants. I will in a second. I just wanted to jump in and say that backstage at the Wide Bay show recently, some of us were doing the one time in many years I found the "what" chants funny, which is we were going, low fat, what? No fat, what? Full cream, what? High calcium, what? High protein, what? Soy, what? Omega-3, what? Doing the old Paul's Milk ad. And that was fun. I like that.
I will say Ivan Black, really good Stone Cold impersonation.
Yeah, really incredible.
Really good.
My chicken shit is unfortunately a Pro Wrestling League one because I love Pro Wrestling League and it's unfortunate to do this. But please stop throwing up the X. I don't like it at all. I know that you're trying to make the crowd think something's happening and people expect that when you throw the X up, someone's injured. It makes me stop thinking about the wrestling and start thinking about the performer behind the wrestler. It takes me completely out of what's actually happening in the match. I'm worrying about how that person's training is going to go. I'm worrying about what future shows are going to look like because I know over at that other company, this is the main event. So what's the booking change going to have to happen there? Right. And it completely takes me out of the match. If you want to do a fake injury spot, that's fine. Please don't throw up the X. Because
You're talking about the Rufio spot?
I'm talking about the Rufio spot. Yeah. It makes me stop thinking about the match. It makes me stop paying attention to the wrestlers in the ring. I don't like it. And not only does it pull me out of the match, but it also sets up a situation where someone can throw up the X and people are going, it's fine, it's a work, we can yell stupid shit at this, which comes back to when I went to Underworld Wrestling. I went to the first show of that, and there was a really serious incident where Sid Parker had a seizure in the middle of the ring, and people were going, it's a work, right? Because they were like, oh, the X has been faked. Just don't fake it. Keep it to have a symbol that means something so that when something happens, it can mean something.
I'll say this, that was what was nice about the MCW show. They didn't, when Slex was injured and then Buddy was injured, Rowan just stood at ringside and went no. He didn't ever throw up the X, which I respected that because it also made me think, hang on, this could be real. But if they throw up the X, it's so overused and such a trope now that you go, no, it's bullshit.
Yeah. It takes me out of it. I hate it. Anyway, Todd, chicken shit.
I've been debating whether or not to talk about this or not. And I think Lachlan knows where I'm about to go.
I think I know where you're about to go too.
There is a time-honored thing in professional wrestling where you don't run other people's venues. You don't do it. That's something that's happening at the moment or looking to happen at the moment up here. And I find it completely fucking unprofessional and something that I would never do. And if I wanted to do it, it would be a venue that people no longer worked. And I would ask the promotion before I did anything about it to do it. We aren't in 1985 anymore. This isn't fucking territory wars. And if it was, mate, honestly, you don't have the ammunition. So I'm just going to say, look, because everywhere else around Australia, pretty much, they don't do this shit. You just don't. It's an unwritten rule. And if you're going to work somewhere close to another venue or another people's venue, you talk to the other promotion about it. It's always been done. It was done recently behind the scenes and no one knows about it. So all I'm going to say is just be a bit fucking more professional, because what you're doing has the potential to hurt the business as a whole. So, and that's it. And that's without me naming names, because the people that know. And that's all I have to do. And this is not a fucking vague post. I don't give a shit what you think about it too. It's just stuff that you just don't do. And it's really, really hard for me to hold back how I really feel about this. This is me being as nice as I possibly can about it. So there you go. That's my chicken shit.
I'll back you up, Todd. Hang on, just before you do, Jeff, I just want to back Todd up with this. And if you are doing it to a company that has asked you not to return, it makes you look like a petty little bitch. Sorry.
Yes.
Go on, Jeff.
My chicken shit is this, and it's also a little bit of a chicken salad. I missed you guys like crazy last week. I really wanted to do a show last week, and I'm so sorry that I wasn't mentally able to. I wasn't in a space where I feel completely safe with both of you. I feel completely safe with everybody who tunes in. But I wasn't able to. And the reason why is absolute shit. Adam wasn't a fan of wrestling, but he loved that I loved it. And that meant a lot to me. And it shows me that you can have, your friends can be completely different to you, and yet you can completely love them. So, yeah, the fact that we didn't do it last week really, really was a bit of chicken shit.
Mate, I nearly did a solo show, but that was the day I found out about the news I just talked about. Yeah. And it really wouldn't have been the right time for me to go on the air and start talking about it, because if people knew me at that, like during that day,
I can imagine.
There was, it was not, wasn't good times in the old Eastman household, put it that way. I was pretty,
I wish I was there to hear that.
I was pretty mad.
I'll throw up a couple of the chicken shits from the chat before we get to our chicken salads. Andy PWDU says the Australian Showcase was and is a really exciting prospect on Elimination Chamber weekend. It's a shame that EPW invited negative attention by only booking 2 women among 43 talent. I think that is a shame. I think it also speaks to the way that wrestling in general is still dominated by male performers. I think that there are a very large number of male performers in the country who deserve spots on the showcase. That's not to say that there aren't women who also deserve those spots. But when it comes to booking, there's a lot of decisions that go into it. There are decisions about who is around. There are decisions about who fits spots that need to be filled on a certain card, right? So, like, there's obviously a battle royale, a battle royale, a rumble. Is that something that they want to do intergender, knowing that there's WWE in town and there's an audience who doesn't necessarily typically see intergender people, right? Intergender matches, I should say. You're also in a situation where there's certain matches that you really want or need to put on for particular reasons, and those have to get priority to put them on the card. I'm not going to say anything, but I think that there's certain matches on that card which EPW is very heavily incentivized to put on, and that's going to leave a very small amount of space for other things, right? I'm not going to stand out here and say that I know every decision that's been made, or that I know that there couldn't have been more women on that card, or I know there could be more women on that card. I know that booking is hard, and I give a lot of credit to bookers, and I hope that we will be in a situation where in future an Australian Showcase deservedly has a lot more women on it, is the way I'm going to put it.
I also think they're stuck in a rock and a hard place, because say you go, okay, fine, we're seeing this stuff online, so let's just grab 5 girls and throw them into that battle royal. Now, are you doing that because those girls deserve that spot, or are you doing that as a pity booking? And I don't know what's worse, doing something like that because you're just finding a spot for a girl and it's a pity booking, and not having them look like they've earned that spot in the show. If that makes sense. I like the way I'm trying to explain it. Because if they did it now, it would seem very much like a pity booking. Yep. Like, correct me if I'm wrong.
It also goes back to what we've discussed a lot over the last year, and that is that right now there are the Australian women's wrestling scene is in a bit of a drier patch, if you like, unfortunately. You know, there are people who are coming up and will be very good once they've got another year or two under their belts. But right now, they're not quite at the standard to represent all of Australia. And that I think is the intention of the Australian Showcase.
Sure. Andy PWDU says you can't tell me there are only 2 women among the top 40 wrestlers in Australia. It wouldn't be a pity booking. They'd be there on merit. I agree, Andy, but I also think that Mitch Ryder is easily one of the top 10 talents in Australia, and he's not on the show. I think that Tim Hayden is in that class as well, and he's not on the show, right?
Yeah.
Like, talking about, I fully agree with what you're saying, Andy. In the top 40 wrestlers in Australia, there are definitely more than 2 women. 100% agree.
But,
That
and
is
also,
not necessarily how a show goes together.
Yeah, it might be an Australian Showcase, but it's an EPW Australian Showcase. Now, if you've worked your ass off for EPW, you go into the training school, you've worked your way from a rookie, you're breaking onto to shows, you're really doing all the hard yards in the back. How would you feel if you're putting all this effort into this company that you love, and they go, oh, sorry, we're going to bump you because these other people want their spots? Like, it's an EPW. At the end of the day, the 3 letters that are at the front of this Australian Showcase is EPW Australian Showcase. So you're going to see a majority of EPW wrestlers on that card. And unless you want a Tony Khan 1,000 matches card, then that's going to happen, unfortunately.
We also don't know what other people personally want to do. Like, they could have approached 3, 4, 5 other women and said, hey, do you want to be part of this show? And, you know, I'm not supposing either way, but some people probably don't want to be for a variety of reasons. There's some very good women's wrestlers who possibly don't want to work for WWE, so they don't want to take the spot away from somebody else. I'm not speaking for anybody, but I'm saying that's a possibility.
Yeah. Look, we've got Bambo in the chat saying half the wrestlers are just in Perth to see Elimination Chamber. So if that wasn't on, most of the East Coast wrestlers wouldn't be in Perth. If they've got the talent available, use it. I definitely think that I absolutely agree. It would be great if this show had more women on it who, you know, we could see the great crop of women's wrestlers that are in Australia. Tim Wilkes says getting to Perth isn't the easiest thing, especially next weekend. I am giving the benefit of the doubt to EPW here, just in terms of I know what they've historically done when they've had women on the show, and they've represented them very well. I know that, you know, there are people I rate very highly who are women who have been on EPW shows, and I know that, you know, that they haven't really had a lot of women on the shows recently. Right. And I know that there's other situations that go on, and I know all these booking considerations, and I'm happy the Australian Showcase is on. I know that this doesn't discount the fact that there's, you know, 41 men to 2 women. That's disappointing, but that's the situation it's in.
It is disappointing, but by the same token, and I'm going for my own, from my own experience with EPW, when I looked last year for WrestleBrania people, they immediately put Stella Nix forward. Immediately, without reservation. So I think that, you know, you need to kind of, we don't know the whole picture. It's much like the Bushi Road thing. We don't know the whole picture. And without knowing the whole picture, yes, it's disappointing, but we can't completely slam them because we don't know what overtures were made. We don't know the discussions that have happened, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I agree, but I think there's probably more interesting stuff going on than that. Alex Fireheart says, chicken shit, the fact Hanare wasn't dragged out of that dog pound cage match thing after all that blood loss and most likely suffering a concussion. I don't really like Hanare, but keeping him in there, even though he didn't do much after the injury, was a bad call. Yep, fully agree, Alex Fireheart. That's definitely one to be a chicken shit. Let's talk chicken salad.
Sorry, I'm also PWA actually doing a show in Perth on Thursday night. It's a lucha show.
Yeah.
So there might be some girls on that. You don't know. The thing is, you don't know. Maybe Jess Troy just doesn't want to fly to Perth. Do you ever think of that?
Yeah.
She's never traveled overseas. Maybe she doesn't like flying. You don't know. You know what I mean? It's just, we don't know.
She was coming down to Melbourne for MCW, but even then she could have been driving.
I'm not saying that is the case at all, but maybe she just doesn't want to do the 5-hour flight.
And this is that situation of you can't tell me there are only 2 women among the top 40 wrestlers in Australia. Yeah, Jess Troy isn't on the card, right?
Yeah.
So it is necessarily not the best 43 wrestlers in the country.
Who is one of the top 2 female wrestlers in the country.
Jess Troy is one of the best wrestlers in the country, full stop. If you don't have her in your top 10, someone's going to ask, why isn't Jess Troy in your top 10 Aussie wrestlers? Full stop, right? So if she's not on the card, it's clearly not the situation where they haven't earned it on merit or anything. Anyway, I think we need to get off this. I think we need to talk chicken salad. My chicken salad is I took my mum to the wrestling and she loved it. And isn't that bloody nice, right?
That's awesome.
We got to see, I got to take along someone who, basically what happened, I've been trying to get mum to come to wrestling for ages. She's always said no. I finally convinced my partner's little sister and my partner's mum to come to the wrestling. Because I thought, you know what, they'll love it. And then I told mum that there were other grown-ups coming, and mum said, okay, fine, if there's other grown-ups coming, I'll go. And they had an absolute ball. They thought it was just delightful. Like I said earlier, mum was like, I get it. I get why it's interesting and exciting now. And she said, I don't think you get it until you go. And I'm like, that's exactly what I'm saying. Pario Magazine says, I'm planning to do that exact thing at World Series Wrestling this year. It is so great to see wrestling through a new fan's eyes. My mum kept talking about it for the whole next day, and she was blown away by these people who were so athletic, but were also doing such a performance. She was just like, wow. And some people who you would never imagine to be the wrestler type getting in there. So not you, Todd, she was actually talking about Chris Denk, who I think is just one of the most brilliant performers in such a fun gimmick, but he doesn't look like a wrestler, right? And mum was so blown away by that and how much fun it was. And that can't not be my chicken salad.
No, I will say we sold out that venue with, I think it's 340 something tickets. So I was walking around backstage just going, Toddy moves tickets. You want some bums and seats? Book Toddy in a match. That's what you get. Had nothing to do with it being a 30-man rumble.
That's why they keep doing it, Todd. Every show you're on shifts tickets. It's insane. If you book Todd in a match, tickets shift. But I also do want to say, as a chicken salad, that, and this is maybe a little self-indulgent on the podcast, Todd was bloody brilliant in his match. He had a triple threat match with his boy Tim Hayden and the champion Outback Adam. And they did such a good job of keeping Todd as a comedy heel while having Tim Hayden look like a threat to the title. Putting in just a little bit of, Todd and Tim not getting along, just enough to keep it interesting. With Outback Adam looking like a serious champion who ended up retaining. EBE Online said we've had new friends with us pretty much every PWL show of the last year, and every one of them has come back. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant stuff. But I do want to give a big shout out to Todd, who is I am personally so proud of for the fitness journey he's been on. He's done such an incredible job. And seeing him in the ring, keeping up for a full-length match was really impressive. And I'm proud of the big man. Well done, Todd.
I mean, I will say I got to do 2 things. Well, 3 things technically that like as a fan, like growing up, I never thought I'd do. Like Tim and I did a heart attack finish. Double team finish.
Wow.
We did that. I gave Adam an F5. I did even though I made sure it was a comedy spot, I did like a splash. But fantastic. It was something as like a kid or watching WrestleMania, watching all that, I wanted to do. And then when I started training, I knew I was never going to be a wrestler. Like pretty much from the start of my career 12 years ago, I was like, well, I don't think I'm going to make this. to be able to do it 12 years on. Not only that, but for those of you that weren't at the show, we started the match by coming out and cutting a promo on like Mark Davis. So Mark Davis was in the ring. So not only I got to go and cut a promo on a internationally known wrestler before doing my championship match. It's just something that I could never have thought I was going to do at being an old man, as your mum calls me.
That old guy,
So, yeah.
The old guy.
Not to mention,
That's
I'm
like
probably half the age of those guys that were in that ring.
to
Close
just
to.
drag you down to earth a little bit.
No, yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, let's talk about some of the other chicken salads that have popped up in the chat. Alex Fireheart said Zach and Brian's recent match in Japan and Zach actually winning. I mean, I love both guys, but Zach winning was the cherry on top of that match. I thoroughly enjoyed.
That was my chicken salad as well. That match. This match was really, really good. It was never not going to be good, but yeah, it was really, really good.
Fireheart throwing an additional one. Yone versus Tanaka happened earlier tonight, and watching those two older gents beat the crap out of each other was quite fun.
I'll tell you what was good, but like it also made me not angry, but a little bit miffed. Is like I've started watching the Super J Cup, the Jersey GCW thing, and like the first round was Nick Wayne. I've only really watched that first match, just seeing how good Nick Wayne is. But then not seeing him being able to do that in AEW at the moment, very annoying. Very annoying.
Absolutely. Andy PWDU said chicken salad. The Renegade show looked and sounded so good on YouTube. I couldn't be more thrilled they've announced their next show at Northcote Theatre. Jeff, have you got some salad for us?
Yeah, I've got, firstly, and we didn't have the show last week to say it, but The Rock just being that amazing utility player, going in as a face and realizing that the crowd wanted Cody, so just skewing his shtick, calling them Cody crybabies, talking in the first person, just really, really getting that character down so quickly. Really admirable stuff. And I also really, really enjoyed the tag matches to get to British Strong Style against Judgment Day. I love those, the few matches they did, the three of them. The match, the DIY versus British Strong Style match was just so good. I smiled through every minute.
That was sort of like, that was the match too where like, it wouldn't have mattered who won for me. I would have been happy.
Yeah.
That one of them was going to get a tag team title shot on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, I felt the same way. And it was wonderful. It was a lovely match. And it's, again, I know I've used this as my chicken salad before, but it's great to see Pete Dunne be back to being Pete Dunne, the bruiserweight. Just lovely. And also, like, I know I complained about the fans earlier, but that hot crowd at Thornbury Theatre, wow, they were just brilliant. They were just great, with that one brief exception. What?
It really got under your skin, didn't it?
Look, just great with one brief exception. Perfectly describes the podcast hosts we've got here. So if you want to tell us who you think that brief exception is, make sure you do it in a review on Apple Podcasts where you give us 5 stars. Seriously, if you decide which one of us is the exception, I will read it out on air and create conflict between the boys here. It'll be so much fun. Just got double teamed immediately. Great. So make sure you're going onto iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is, rating us 5 stars. Also hit subscribe. You can hit subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you're hitting subscribe on that. Come over to twitch.tv/WrestleRadio Australia. Hit the follow button to get notified when we go live. Hit subscribe if you want to support what we do. You can also head on over to WrestleRadioAustralia.com. That's got the links to everything, including where you can find our Redbubble stuff, which you can also find by going to Redbubble, searching for Wrestle Radio Australia, buying some merch. The proceeds from that don't go to us. They go to Beyond Blue and Gotcha for Life, two amazing charities that support men's mental health here in Australia. You should also follow us on social media. We're at WrestleRadio AU on Twitter and Instagram. You can find Todd at Beast Eastman. You can find me at Lachlan Albert. You can find Jeff at Jeff_Steady. You can also find WrestleBrania at Wrestle_Brania. Jeff, remind us again of what you can win one of 5 copies of by going to WrestleBrania in Perth.
in Perth, we are giving away you can win 5 copies of WWE 2K24. Well, 1 of 5, because 5 people who come to the show are going to walk out with a copy of the game. You'll get some codes. We'll find a way to get it to you. 2K, thank you so much for doing that. As a bonus, I'm going to be getting a copy and reviewing WWE 2K24 when it comes out right here on Wrestle Radio Australia. Look, we are so excited to be going to Perth. Tickets are moving, so you want to grab them soon. Don't leave it to the last minute expecting you can just rock up and get a ticket. We're not sure we're going to have many left. They are moving, so get on to OzTix right now and grab yourself a ticket. And I'm flying out tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to getting to Perth and seeing you all on the Saturday and then again on the Sunday. I'm going to be in the media seats for Elimination Chamber. So, that's happened. I'm also possibly going to be talking to a few people. So, that's happened too. So
you're going to record this, or you're just going to come back and go, oh, no, I talked to this guy and I talked to this guy? Or is this actually going to get recorded so we can...
Triple H was real nice.
Yeah. It would not surprise me at all. He goes, no, I talked to them. Did you record it? No, we're just having a chat. No.
Yeah. Of course I'm going to fucking record it. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to that. My ticket side, of course. Perth's a week away. Come and see WrestleBrania. What else could it be? Also, I fly out tomorrow, so it'll be fun.
Yeah,
actually,
so make sure you head.
Talking about chicken salads. Check out NXT. Watch Jada Parker, and you'll see the reason why they didn't pay for Mercedes Moné. Straight up, watching her, I'm just like, that's why they didn't pay her the extra money, because they already have the next one here.
Absolutely. So look, once again, make sure you head over to OzTix, search for WrestleBrania X EPW Perth 2024. You'll be able to find those tickets for Linnet's Lounge in Northbridge. That's on Saturday, the 24th of February, the day of Elimination Chamber at 2:30 p.m. And then the day after Elimination Chamber, Sunday, February 25th, you can come along to the Dutch Trading Company for our Elimination Chamber podcast post show. That's with me and Jeff and Lyle and Welchie from On the Turnbuckle. You can get the tickets to that for only $15 by heading to tinyurl.com/WRAXOTT. That's right. Plenty of plugs for you there. We got anything else before we head off?
Wide Bay Pro's last show from last year, Hall Brawl, is now up on their YouTube channel. Please go and check it out. Some great matches on there. Renegade and Adam Brooks is an amazing match. Please do go and check it out.
I haven't shut up about it since.
Yeah.
Also, don't forget that StarCast Australia tickets are moving as well. So you might want to get and support that. I know it's in Ballarat, but Melbourne's close enough to Ballarat. Support it. It's going to be a really fun weekend. I know a few things that are planned. A few things that are going to be announced soon. What could I be talking
about? For everyone complaining about it, Mickey James is doing a her show. All the girls wrestling you want to see.
Mickey James. There's also going to be Bret Hart. There's also going to be Shelton Benjamin. That one's going to be huge. So keep an eye on it.
It's going to be Victoria. Victoria's going to be
there. Yeah, it's going to be great. But look, with all that said, obviously we've been recording for almost 3 hours because I've missed talking to you boys and I can't wait to do it again. So until next time, on behalf of Jeff Setti and Todd Eastman, I've been Lachlan Albert. Till next time, have a good one.
Finally, WrestleBrania has come back to Perth. WrestleBrania and EPW present the Perfect Elimination Chamber pre-show with host and general manager Jeff Setti.
Let's get ready to Brania! The series has come and gone. There's that one moment, the one big moment, the big return, the return everyone's talking about. R-Truth is back.
Heel Captain Welchie.
I've got a question for the face team. Was there a 2-for-1 sale at Lowe's?
Babyface Captain Alan Aldworth.
No deal. Andrew Page. It's dangerous.
Davis Storm. Comedian Rosavad.
It's great. The explanation apparently shops at Miller's.
Dirty Harry Hills.
How are you, Harry? I think if we lost this, it'd kill me.
Comedian Luke Boland.
I took on 10 men and had my hand raised as the reigning hardcore champion.
Jesse Lambert. Damian Slater.
It's a series of games about wrestling.
WrestleBrania, the world's only wrestling comedy game show. Suck good shit. WrestleBrania will finish with plenty of time to get to the